Hello and welcome to episode 3 of season 6 of the Sausage Factory. The Sausage Factory is a group of guys sitting around talking about movies. I'm your moderator, Pizzal. Joining me tonight, I have got Rambo Raff. What's up, Rambo?
Doing good. Glad to be here. Great year we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, movie from that year.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Center.
A blob koozie. Very nice.
Hey, let's
Very
keep
nice.
it PG, man.
Also with me tonight's Cameron. How you doing, man?
Doing great. I'm not sure how long I can stay, but 1988 is one of my favorite years in movies, so I had to come by.
Okay. Also with me tonight's Jay the Stringway. What's up, Stringway?
What is up? What is up, guys? Great year, 88. It's a good one.
What we drinking tonight, Jay?
Got some French roast in here tonight.
Nice.
And stuff.
Nice.
Put some hair on the chest.
Mon ami.
Ah, oui.
Oui. Also with me tonight is Eric, Easy E. What's up, man?
Hey, doing great.
Also with me tonight is Cole. What's up, Cole?
Yeah, not much going on.
Man,
My Pepsi has St. Louis Blue Star Vladimir Tarasenko. So
Oh, wow, that's cool.
I really respect your Pepsi game, man.
What's that?
I respect your Pepsi game. It's always Coke. Fuck that. Pepsi.
I like Coke too. I just find Pepsi's a little more accessible for me most of the time. I like Coke too, but yeah.
Is this our
I
first
drink Coke
topic?
as well,
'Cause
but
I have strong opinions on this.
For instance,
I
there are
find
no
that too,
Coke
actually.
cans that I can get that are this size. Pepsi's got the big cans. Coke doesn't. At least not mine.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that size. That's cool.
Huh?
I'll check it
Yeah,
out.
this is 473. Yeah, 473
Right.
mil. Tall.
Ah,
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
And with us tonight is the Professor B Movie Mike. What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going?
Going good. Always.
Doing the do as always?
you are as cloaked in the dark and behind your microphone as you ever have been.
Cloaked in the, well, I mean, if you saw, I mean, the Halloween shows, he was cloaked in like smoke and like just, you know what I mean?
Well, the backlighting helped though, because he had some cool Halloween lights in the back that made it, that illuminated
It's
it
a little
bit.
early for the Christmas lights. I'm sorry. I thought about it, but a little early.
I'm already rocking them, man. I got the black Christmas tree up with my horror ornaments on it.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
You know, you can't really tell it's black though with the lights on it, but it's black. I had to have a black Christmas tree. So
Can you get a black Christmas tree, or do you like spray paint it?
nope, it's black Christmas tree, Walmart special, baby, $39.99.
Of course, they have everything.
They have everything. They do indeed. They do
What a
indeed.
time to be alive.
Ah, yes. What a time to be alive.
Your neighbors are like, that Pizza down there, he worships Satan. I know it. You got a black Christmas tree.
I love it when the like somebody comes down into the man cave. Like I had the internet guys here not long ago, and like the one dude was cool. Like he just walked in, he's just like, whatever. The other guy walked in and was like, like he thought I was good, I was just gonna kill him or something. I don't know. But he was just kind of, and then like he wouldn't keep his back to me for very long. Like he, and like at one point he kind of looked back at all my movies and he goes, "You got the DVDs, don't you?" And I went, "I got a few." That was the small talk. That was the small talk to break the tension.
Oh, I love it.
But yeah, I always get a lot of looks. People come into the man cave and they're just kind of like, "Wow." They're either like, "Wow, that's really cool," or they're like, "Oh my God, this dude, I gotta get out of here." This guy's gonna kill. But black Christmas trees, and that's just what I'm about. That's just what I'm about. But
I don't know, I'd feel more uncomfortable if I was like installing cable and I came into the guy's man cave and it was just like all the My Little Pony stuff and stuff like that. I think I'd find that more uncomfortable. I'd be like, what have I got myself into?
I would just be happy that there wasn't like used syringes and feces on the floor. You know what I'm saying? I'm not
Well,
picky.
I'm
You know, cockroaches, bed bugs, bed bugs. Those things are what I worry about. You know, the
Mhm.
posters and the movies, that's cool.
Yeah, I think as long as it's clean and it smells good, they're just kind of like whatever.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, if your posters were like Jeffrey Dahmer or Charles Manson, just that on the wall, and then maybe a question mark to pop up in your head.
I think he's about to kick off. They're saying he's in bed.
One guy
I
must have
heard
been a
that.
rookie.
Oh no.
The guy that didn't respond, he must have been like at it for a while. He's like, "Oh, good, it's clean. Fuck it, let's do this."
But yes, yeah, Charlie Manson's on death's door apparently. So, but let me send out some birthday wishes to our buddy Joseph Purdue, who is 31 years old today. Happy birthday, man!
Nice.
Happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday.
Happy.
Happy birthday.
Yes, yes,
So
indeed.
31. You're on the downward trajectory of your life.
Yeah,
Welcome.
what a
It's-
terrible-
Oh, it's-
terrible,
Rob Zombie made a movie about your age.
Yeah.
It's all downhill from here, man.
It's a low point for sure.
It's all downhill from here. But how have you guys been? We took last week off. How have you guys been? Have you seen any movies or do anything interesting?
I saw Thor
Thor,
the other
okay.
day.
As did I. And I saw Justice League last night, too.
Oh, man. I was
Okay.
sorry about that, but Thor was very good, very bright and colorful. The first two Thor movies are pretty meh, but this one really makes up for them. It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
Good
Thor
stuff
was
going
solid.
on. Yeah, and great music, great look to it, and stuff like.
Can I just
funny.
say something
Yeah.
real quick? I'm sorry, Cole. It's hard. I don't care how good Thor is. I'm really tired of seeing these amazing trailers for these movies, and then having friends go see the early shows and then tell me that half of those scenes are not in the movie. I'm really tired of it. So I just stay away from those movies now because they anger me.
I didn't
was missing
know
from-
any. I don't remember anything.
A lot of stuff from that initial trailer with the what was that song they used? They used in the Girl with the Dragon Tattoos song. The
Immigrant Son. That's in the
Immigrant
movie.
yeah, you're right.
Close.
But a lot of the images in that trailer are not in the movie. Like
Say the songs in the movie in like two different scenes.
A lot of the images I remember in the movie.
the
You
whole
only-
thing of Loki flipping the double knives and things like that. Apparently,
That's
are
in the
not.
movie. That's in the.
Yeah, because the only
in
thing
the-
that I
I
noticed
saw
that
the
was
movie 2
different from
days
the
ago. I
trailer.
remember pretty well.
Yeah,
Oh,
and the
that's
only thing I
really
remember that wasn't in the trailer, and they changed it, and I understand why they did it, is there's like that shot of Thor like electrified with lightning, and he lands. And has everybody seen it or no?
No.
Okay. Well, there is a detail about Thor that they did not add in the trailer
Okay.
that
You didn't want to be a spoiler.
Yeah.
That's why they didn't have it in the trailer.
It's
I
not-
idea what you mean.
Well, I mean,
He's got a mustache? Is that it? Well, I think I see
Yeah.
your man.
Well, can't say it, but
Yeah,
We lost Eric. I was
he
gonna
also
ask-
has a fedora. He puts a fedora on.
man, I'm telling you, I don't care what people. This Justice League thing is gonna be fascinating this weekend. There's already people pointing fingers at each other as to what happened. Joss Whedon didn't even show up. Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder didn't even go to the premiere of the movie. They're all pointing. Everybody's pointing fingers at Justice League already. The movie's got
Why?
40% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I didn't mind it.
No, but I'm saying that the filmmakers behind the scenes, Ben Affleck has come out against Joss Whedon, saying he fucked up the whole movie. It's just, it's insane. And like Gal Gadot was saying that like Joss Whedon was shooting these jokes, like sex jokes about her Wonder Woman when she wasn't on set. He was using a model, a stand-in from England when she wasn't on set. And so she saw the final movie and she's pissed off about it too. So
all right, just burn it down. Burn all the fuck down.
I
yeah,
don't even remember what those jokes would have been.
the Flash apparently falls into her boobs. And
Oh yeah, kinda.
You got a
Yeah.
fat ass, Wonder Woman. Ha ha ha.
but then people are getting pissed off because Joss Whedon also used that same joke in Age of Ultron with Bruce Banner falling into Scarlet Witch's
Yeah.
Black Widow's boobs. So anyway,
Sounds hilarious.
yeah.
So
But anyway,
how-
Classic move. I've seen it like 1,000 different animes.
So how is Justice League? You say it's not bad. It's not.
It was good. It is nowhere near as good as the Avengers was. Like I saw the Avengers and the movie was just like a revelation. Like it just kind of there was a lot of exciting things. There was lots of cool like audience moments. like, you know, the Hulk punch into the giant worm was just everyone like flipped out. That was awesome. There aren't too many moments like that in the movie, but it's not the dumpster fire that Batman vs Superman was. It's, you know, and again, I think I disagree with a bunch of you. I actually didn't mind Suicide Squad, but I recognize it had a bunch of problems. But it's, you know, it's better than that. It was solid. Like, it actually felt more like a legitimate like DC Comics movie.
He's out.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in seeing it because of the controversy and because it's going to be, you know what I mean. So I do want to see it eventually. I don't know if I'll rush out this weekend to watch it, but I do want to see it eventually.
Just wait for the ultimate cut on DVD.
There you go. There you go.
Yep.
Which once again will fix everything.
I'll wait to never.
What did Jay say the other day? I'll wait till TBS or something.
That's the best way to see any movie.
It is, yes. Oh goodness.
I wonder why it's so much like controversy behind the scenes. I mean, I guess it's just stress.
Snyder left. Snyder got fired.
Yeah, I knew that.
He claims he left for family reasons, but now it's come out that they didn't like his movie anyway. So they said, "Why don't you just go take care of that, whatever you're doing?" And now Whedon came in and mixed up the whole thing and brought in all his jokes and stuff, but that completely conflicts with how Snyder shoots movies, and so it's a movie without a director. Even if it's entertaining, nobody made it.
Wow. But, I mean, isn't that par for the course? I mean, it's like they can't not screw up these movies. It's like they can't. Every movie can't not be a catastrophe in some way, shape, form, or fashion.
And I honestly think that Joss Whedon, while he has a lot of personal problems, I think as an artist, I think that he's a near genius, if not a genius in many circumstances. So I was really rooting for him to be able to pull this off, but he won't even. I mean, somebody tweeted out, to say this is a weak villain is an insult to weak villains in comic book movies, and Joss Whedon liked the tweet.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'll say something very comic booky, which is I just don't buy Joss Whedon doing DC. It's not him. DC is not where he's at. It's not his stuff. The characters, the world. It's not for him. So.
Who should be directing movies in the DC world, Cole?
I don't know, a director. Joss Whedon's not really a director. Joss Whedon's just an up-jumped writer.
How about Michael Mann?
Ooh, that would be cool.
we already got Michael Mann with the Dark Knight. That was pretty much a Michael Mann movie.
That's a fake Michael Mann to me. I don't like Nolan.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Inception.
I know. I guess
I
most
mean,
people
real
got.
Michael Mann.
I guess most people got sick of it, but I mean, I would have been completely fine with, Mr. Dark Knight just doing all the DC movies.
Nolan.
Nolan. Nolan should have just done all of them, but they didn't go in that direction, and well, whatever.
Yeah.
Or back in the day when they wanted that George Miller doing Justice League.
I mean, the cool thing about this Justice League movie, again, I haven't seen it, is that when Superman shows up and when Batman shows up, they play the John Williams score for Superman and the Danny Elfman score from Tim Burton's Batman for Ben Affleck. So,
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Ben Affleck doesn't deserve that.
Hey, do
Ben
you
Affleck
get
is not deserving
nostalgia?
of that.
Do you
That's
get
funny.
nostalgia, folks?
Do you want to be reminded of far superior films?
John Williams is ain't
Oh,
part of
boy.
Man of Steel. That's like the
You
one
gotta
thing
hear-
I liked about Man of Steel. It's the music. John Williams doesn't fit for that. What the
No.
fuck? Like, that was good music and nostalgia. Hey, you like this old shit?
Hey, remember this shit? Want to see it again?
It's like
It
Jurassic
doesn't-
World over again.
It doesn't surprise me that Justice League is in trouble. I mean, the Marvel films, although are of varying quality, I mean, DC has never really lived up to that in any modern film. I don't know. So I haven't seen Justice League. I don't think I will until maybe later. But I have no expectations. So whatever they put out there.
I want to see it, but I'm really I've been burned out on comic book movies for about 5 years, and it's just like every year there's like, you got 3 Marvel movies, you got 2 DC movies, you just comic book movie. totally burned out and tired of comic book movies.
Even with the Avengers, I mean, even with the Marvel, after the Avengers, it's been all downhill with Marvel for me. I mean, every Ant-Man was pretty good. I enjoyed that. It was a little bit different, but I don't know. Everything else has just been.
But you notice online that like all the comic book movie reviewers and stuff, every time a Marvel movie comes out, they say this is the best one to date. Like every single one that comes out, they always say that, and they're not.
Some people say that about the new Star Wars movies too, but
not at the level of Marvel though.
Speaking of that, in a couple of weeks we have a new Star Wars film, and they announced a new Star Wars trilogy that has nothing to do with the original trilogy, and so now we're going to have that. Now it's going to be DC, Marvel, Star Wars, DC, Marvel, Star Wars.
I'm afraid that's what they're going to do with Star Wars. They're just going to burn us out with Star Wars stuff. I think it's cool that Ryan Johnson's doing it. I like Ryan Johnson, but I mean, it's just overkill, man. Overkill.
Well, Battlefront releases tonight.
And I've heard a lot of shit things about it already.
Yeah.
I pre-ordered it this afternoon, so I'll check it out.
It looks really good, but I mean, did you hear all the stuff about the loot crates and how long you've got to play it to get good characters?
Apparently
they fixed that.
Right? Yeah,
they fixed that. Yeah, Vader and Luke are available at a much lower point threshold.
So instead of having to play 1 year to get Vader, you only have to play 6 months now to get Vader.
Get on that grind, baby.
And instead of $450, it's only $200.
God.
Oh god, awful. Yeah.
Oh man!
And not to start us down that whole area, but when I saw Thor, it was the first time I saw a full preview for the new Star Wars Last Jedi, and maybe I was just being manipulated, but I really liked the trailer. It made me excited. I was like, this looks like it's gonna pay off. I was really
the best Star Wars movie to date.
Well, Ryan Johnson probably did a good job with it if they're going to give him a whole trilogy.
Yeah, clearly they're high on Ryan Johnson.
And the best thing is that The Last Jedi, regardless, I don't know, I mean, who knows if it's going to be good or not, but it's the only Star Wars movie that so far they've made in the new ones that has not been over-scrutinized by Disney. Ryan Johnson came in, wrote a script, made a movie, and left without any drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
until after it comes out.
I think
that just means he towed the line.
Timing on his part. I think he was just fast and efficient. Like if he took longer, they would have gotten in there. So maybe he knew that, right? He's just like, just do this quickly.
And for B Movie Mike, I think it's 2 hours and 41 minutes.
It's the longest Star Wars movie apparently.
Fuck that shit.
Well, that's going to be a fun night. I have a friend that works at Disney, and he's trying to get tickets so that we can all go see it at the midnight showing on the 14th. So about 3 a.m, we'll be staggering out of the friggin' theater like, what the hell did we just watch?
Mike, come back and immediately do a live reaction on YouTube.
It'll be pretty cool. I mean, it's the AMC Dine-In Theater at Disney Springs, or as we residents call it, downtown Disney.
Yeah.
4-star meals.
It's going to be a good time.
Downtown Disney's awesome.
I do like Ryan Johnson. I loved Brick. I liked Looper a lot. He did a movie in between that I really didn't dig that much. I forget what it was even called, but I think I thought it was a good idea that they brought him on to do Star Wars, and clearly I think they must be up on The Last Jedi if they're going to let him do this whole other offshoot trilogy of whatever. So.
Well, they're catching me at a good time because, with The Force Awakens, it had been a long time, so the expectations were a little more up, right, for that one for me. But after the trash can that Rogue One was.
Dumpster fire.
Gold-plated trash can, but it's still a fucking trash can full of garbage. My expeditions are much lower.
I'm not trying to raise anybody's expectations. I'm just saying I actually enjoyed that trailer. I was like, wow, this looks really good. So
they turned Luke to the dark side. I might destroy the seat in front of me. I don't know.
I think they wanted a certain kind of.
It could be a food fight.
I think they wanted a certain maybe aesthetic for this movie, and they saw Looper, they saw Brick, and they were like, okay, this guy's got the right.
Really though, like Looper was like 5 years ago. They're like, all right, this is the guy we need. He did 3 episodes of Breaking Bad and then 3 Star Wars movies. Man, they fired the dude off of and hired
J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, they needed to get rid of Colin Trevorrow. I mean, he's an idiot. I mean, regardless if you like Jurassic World or not, it's not a well-directed movie. And then he made that Book of Henry movie, which made basically Disney kick him off the project, and they hated him. So they thought he was a Spielberg stooge, but he was just an opinionated asshole apparently. So off he went and brought it back, JJ.
I mean, Ron Howard's doing one of those, isn't he? Is he doing
Solo.
the Han Solo movie?
Han Solo, yeah.
That seems so weird to me. But
And they fired whoever was working on that before. So I mean,
because those guys came in, took the screenplay and threw it out the window, and decided to make it a comedy, like a Naked Gun type of comedy.
oh my god,
that's terrible.
And Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote the script, which is supposedly this is his last Star Wars script, he was like, no, you guys cannot do that. And they said, we can do whatever we want. We're the directors. So with 3 weeks left to go in the production, they were fired. Ron Howard comes in, and they reshot 95% of the movie.
Wow.
Why don't you know this before you shoot it?
Good question.
They read the script. Shit.
But why wait until 3 weeks? I mean, was Disney not looking at the scene, the sets, the scenes coming in?
Man, they got money to burn, man.
They do.
Speaking of Disney, they got so much money to burn. They're trying to buy Fox, trying to get all of the Marvel characters. I mean, what's Deadpool going to do in a Disney movie?
This is the one time where I'm fine with it. Like, I hate Disney buying everything, but they can buy Fox. I'm complete.
Yeah, I mean, they want the Marvel stuff, but what they really want is Episode 4. They don't own Episode 4 of Star Wars. Fox does, and so that's what they need to get.
No. It's Star Wars. It's just called Star Wars.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I'm not calling it that bullshit. It's
not 19.
Star Wars.
After Alien Covenant, they can buy the whole fucking thing and burn it down.
Well, you did hear that Ridley Scott's going to take the other Alien movie. There's no aliens going to be in it. It's going to be like androids or whatever.
There's going to be like 5 more of them.
Are they letting him make it? I thought
that's what he wants to do. That's what he wants to do. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
Blade Runner alien mashup.
Yeah.
Don't say that, please.
That's what they wanted.
That's what it almost sounds like.
Because Alien Covenant did not do well, they actually took out references of Alien Covenant in Blade Runner 2049. They took them out.
Why would they do that? Why would they put that in there in the first place?
Because they're
not the same universe. That's terrible.
Yeah, not every. We don't need a universe for everything.
Because really, Marvel is a fucking moron.
Yep, there it is.
Well, at least the Dark Universe is dead.
Yeah, it's dead.
That's true. The Dark. Well, did it even start?
The Mummy, guys.
Yeah, if you watch the Mummy, it comes up as says Dark Universe, but
it started twice. Dracula Untold.
Exactly. Yeah. What hilarity! I mean, my God, really? Here's the Dark Universe. So the Mummy flopped. No more Dark Universe. We're done.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
No.
Oh my God! What? Jeez, oh Pete.
And the only one I wanted to see out of all of those was Bill Condon's The Bride of Frankenstein, because he has such a hard-on for James Whale movies because of Gods and Monsters. I thought, well, maybe that would be interesting, but not with Angelina Jolie as The Bride of Frankenstein. No.
The casting on all that stuff is like a joke, man. It's like Johnny Depp and
Oh yeah. Oh my God! And they're going after Johnny Depp right now. All of Twitter's going after Johnny Depp right now because they showed some stuff from Fantastic Beasts 2, and of course he's the new star of it, and everyone's just like, he beats his girlfriend. He's not the star of Harry Potter. So
good God.
There's a sequel to that.
Oh yeah,
Why?
They're gonna do 5 of them. 5 of them. Fantastic Beasts.
Is the first one any
Because
good?
they'll make a lot of money. I never saw it, but I talked to people who liked it. Like people who like Harry Potter thought it was in the ballpark quality wise. So I guess that's.
I don't remember the first one coming out. That's why I was asking. I didn't know there was I didn't know there was a first one. So I'm like, what the hell is Fantastic Beasts 2?
Movie Man 95 says, "What's next? A Medea cinematic universe?" The answer, yes.
There already is.
There already is.
Boo 2, player.
And they're on phase 6.
Yeah.
6.
It's already a big universe out there for Medea.
It is, and Tyler Perry plays every character.
Yeah,
Jesus.
That's a talent right there.
This is all going to end when Disney is bought by Tyler Perry. Like, take that, Disney.
Tyler Perry is going to be the new Han Solo.
Next thing you know, Medea versus Darth Vader.
Oh Jesus!
I'd watch that. Hello.
Oh God!
The universe's last hope.
No, what's gonna happen is that they're gonna do a Star Wars Guardians of the Galaxy crossover. So.
Don't even say it. You know that'll happen. Don't even say it. Well, guys, let's go ahead and jump into the topic at hand because we're talking about a busy year in movies, 1988. And I forget who pitched this idea, but whoever did, as soon as they said, let's talk about the movies of 1988, at least half a dozen movies just rushed to my mind like, oh, yeah, because for some reason, like the years like 87, 88, and 89, like, it just seems like there's so many good movies those years. And like I just see them all so vividly. I think that's because I was spending so much time in the video stores at that time. So I put together a list of probably 12 or 15 movies before I even Googled it. And then I was like, oh my God, there's an enormous list of movies. So what I thought we would do to kind of narrow things down is for each of us to pick our 2 favorite movies from each genre from 88. I'm talking drama, action, sci-fi, horror, and then like a miscellaneous for like a fantasy movie or a romantic comedy or whatever, which a political movie or something to that effect. So let's go ahead and dive right in. You guys share with us what your favorite movies of 1988 are in the comments section. And why don't we go ahead and get started? Cameron, I know you said you've got limited time. So you wanna bat lead off here?
Okay, so what genres do you want us just start throwing stuff out or what?
Yeah, just be like, for drama it's this, for horror it's this, for whatever action it's this, But just try to limit it to like 2 per genre, because I mean we'll come back around later in the show and we'll have plenty of time to throw a bunch more out.
Okay, my favorite drama was oh God, what was it? Mississippi Burning. I think that movie's amazing. Okay. My other favorite drama is Talk Radio, even though there's a lot of laughs in it. Oliver Stone film that he made in between Wall Street and Born on 4th of July. If you have not seen it, it's amazing. My favorite comedy of 1988 has to be A Fish Called Wanda.
Woo.
My favorite action film, of course, is Die Hard. My 2 favorite horror films, there's a lot of great ones that came out this year, but the ones that I've gone back and watched again and again and again the most has to be Halloween 4 and Nightmare 4 Dream Master. Those are my 2 favorites, even though there's also other quality movies there. And my favorite Western, Young Guns.
Nice.
And yeah, and you know what? This is probably not the right audience for this, but I really like this movie called The Unbearable Lightness of Being, which was a Philip Kaufman movie. He, of course, did the story for Raiders of the Lost Ark. He also made The Right Stuff. And I remember this is a crazy thing, but I remember getting free passes and going to see a movie in 1988 with my mom, Red Heat, with Arnold Schwarzenegger and James Belushi. Nice. And I honestly have not seen that movie since, but I remember really liking it. So, I mean, does it hold up? I don't know, but it was fun. So, I don't know. Does it hold up, Red Heat?
It's one of the lower.
Since I've seen it. It's been
one of the lower tier Schwarzenegger films, but
sure.
I like it.
But it's not a bad movie.
Yeah, I remember
reading nothing really bad about it
in the day.
You know what? I know Belushi gets a lot of crap because of that whole show, According to Jim, but he was solid in the 80s. I mean, between Salvador and The Principal, and I always liked
K9.
K9, yes, there it is.
Man, no,
but I've always about last night.
I don't like anything about him, man. I've never liked him in anything ever. I can't even think of a 5-minute scene I like him in, man. I can't.
What was that movie he was in with Tupac?
Gang related.
Gang related.
To me, he's like the guy you call if you can't get like 10 other actors to come in. It's like, well, maybe Belushi's available, probably.
Was he in that film called like The Principal or something like that?
Yeah. That's one of my favorites.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
That's a great.
Well, I didn't see that, so maybe that would turn me around.
Well, unfortunately, that's 87.
I did not see that movie, so maybe that would change my mind.
There's a hilarious Belushi story. James Belushi. Oh gosh, what's the guy's name? From oh God, I can't remember his name.
Ernie Hudson.
No. He's a comedian. He was on that show with he was on.
Are you talking about David Cross's story about him?
Yes, David Cross's story about him. Yes.
Where David Cross is. Yeah, okay, you can tell it.
No, go ahead.
Well, it's like David Cross was in the mid-'90s doing some shitty comedy movie and Jim Belushi was the star of it. And I guess it takes place at like a casino, and they were shooting in a casino at Vegas. Like the first movie that Cross was ever on. He was just sort of excited to be on the set and stuff like that. And he's off to the side while they're filming stuff. And some woman who was like working at the casino, she was like a casino employee, came up and was talking to him. And then she just said about how she had this son who was like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old, who was supposed to be sick. And she said that he was a huge Jim Belushi fan. And he just said, this always seems weird to me. Like, what kid is like a huge Jim Belushi fan? This is what she told him. She's just
I love
like,
you in Mr. Destiny.
And he says, well, you know, and then he's just like, well, you know, actually, I'm part of the movie. I'm working on it. I can probably get him to like maybe get an autograph for you. And she said, oh, that would be really nice. So then like he went over, and Jim Belushi surrounded by all these people in the entourage or stuff like that. He's waiting for a time when like he can break in and be like, excuse me, Mr. Belushi, and stuff like that. And he's just like, what? And he's just like, oh, do you see that woman over there? And he's like, huh? And then he explains the thing to him, and he's just like, Jesus Christ, I thought you were going to get me a blowjob or something like that. then he just stormed off or something like that. And he's just like, the worst part was I had to go back and tell that woman that I couldn't get it. But yeah, like I don't think I missed anything.
Real quick, let me just throw out two quick other titles. Waxwork, I love Waxwork. It's one of my favorites. Vestron just did an awesome Blu-ray for it. And Married to the Mob. I love Married to the Mob. It's the movie that Jonathan Demme made between Something Wild and The Silence of the Lambs. And some of the music from The Silence of the Lambs is actually in Married to the Mob. All that Goodbye Horses and all that is from Married to the Mob, not The Silence of the Lambs. It was reused. And it's actually on the soundtrack to Married to the Mob first. And so when Buffalo Bill started dancing to that, and Silence of the Lambs was like, oh my God, he's bringing it back in this way that you can't, because the original version they used it, Married to the Mob, is when Matthew Modine is massaging Michelle Pfeiffer's feet. And then, then they do the tuck and with Buffalo Bill, it's just...
That's what everybody associates with it now.
Yeah.
Isn't it awesome when like movies just like lift songs from other movies and think nobody will notice? Like if you watch Scream 2, like Dewey's theme is like the theme from Broken Arrow.
Yeah.
Like down. I'm like, what is John Travolta gonna walk out here now? Like,
well, that was an accident. They actually used the temp when they were doing the editing. They used the temp from Broken Arrow because they do that for composers so that they have an idea what they want, and they forgot to take it out.
Okay.
So they ended up having to pay Universal a shit ton of money because they stuck the music in the movie.
At least that makes a little more sense. I always believed it was like a deliberate choice for some reason. I was like, what do they do? Just like look into the sound archives and be like, yeah, that was a good song for Dewey, I guess. Like nobody will remember.
What was the excuse then behind using the same track from Scream in Halloween H2O?
Oh, that was because what's his name? The guy. Oh God, I can't remember his name.
They took all of his music out because they thought it sucked.
Right. God, I can't remember what his name is.
John Ottman was the composer.
No, but the composer for that movie, he composed a score. They didn't like it. They ripped it out, and the movie needed to be out in 3 weeks, so they just stuck the Scream music in.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Talk Radio. I'm a big Talk Radio was on my list too. I really like that movie. That's a good movie. That's really a Oliver Stone movie that's flown under the radar. I think. And great performance by Tim Bogosian.
Oh yeah,
like the only thing by him I can stand. I hate
and the way they filmed it, they used that set. I mean, it's pretty much in a radio station, the whole thing. But at one point, the whole set goes 360. Their camera moves are just amazing. The hot lights on them. Alec Baldwin gives actually a dramatic performance. You believe this was, if anything, 1988 was the year of Alec Baldwin. He did Married to the Mob, Beetlejuice, Working Girl, and Talk Radio.
Wow,
so that was his big coming out party.
Yeah, Hunt for Red October, man.
That was 89. That was 1990. 90, yeah. For
me, it's always 1990 for him. But yeah, it's a good point, though.
And you mentioned Die Hard, and if Orc were here, he would have definitely mentioned Die Hard. Let me give a health update.
Die Hard is Orc's 10 favorite movies of 1988.
Let me give a health update on Orc. Orc is out of the hospital. He's recovering at home now after his surgery. And he seems to be doing pretty well because he's been pretty active memeing in our little private chat that we have on Twitter. So he's feeling better. Or it could just
I
be
think he's
the
having some mood
Oxycontin. It could just be the Oxycontin.
I think he's been having some weird mood swings based on the tone of some of the stuff he puts on there, but he's fine. He's fine. We're used to it.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it.
But yeah, talk radio's gratefully.
Favorite drama of 1988, Die Hard. Favorite comedy of 1988, Die Hard. Favorite documentary of 1988, Die Hard. Favorite foreign film.
Is it any wonder though that like any of us that podcast or do YouTube videos like talk radio? I mean, it's like it is. Talk radio is the fear of what YouTube is. I mean, it just uses radio. The idea that you are talking, you're being yourself, you have no idea who you're communicating with. And sometimes you get some very weird messages from people.
That happens. That happens from time to time.
That happens to me all the time.
But Rambo, have you ever had a dead rat mailed to you?
Not yet, but I'm sure it's coming.
What's that PO
Not
box?
yet.
Let's go ahead and put your PO box up here. So
Yeah.
we'll get that in the works.
Yeah. But if you guys have not seen Talk Radio, seriously check it out. And a lot of the other titles that throw out there. Mississippi Burning, that needs a Blu-ray release, man. That movie's amazing.
Cool movie.
Well, you
Soundtrack in that movie I really like.
You mentioned Silence of the Lambs. It's getting a Criterion Blu-ray next year.
It has a Criterion DVD already from years ago. The only thing they're not porting over is there was a whole section of last testaments from serial killers. There was a whole like section on it, and they're not bringing that back. So unfortunately,
and Night of the Living Dead. Criterion's coming out in February, I believe.
Yep. So get rid of that Mill Creek release. And did you notice that on the Night of the Living Dead, they're incorporating as an extra Night of Arubis, the original cut of Night of the Living Dead that no one's ever seen. That's cool. And as far as I know, I reached out to Criterion and they said no. So right now they are not going to, as an extra, which is kind of a shame because just as an extra, I wish that they would incorporate the John Russo extra scenes he shot for that anniversary edition, which are horrible. But it is now part of the legacy of that movie. I wish they would just put it as an extra. You know,
I've always been like a weird interest in Russo's contributions, and it just seems so like I don't know. He just seems so off to the side of everything. It's like, how did you even get involved in this? Like, you don't even seem like you and George Romero would even get along or like know each other. Like, I don't know. It seems really.
He's interesting. He's interesting. He wrote all these Living Dead sequels.
Yeah.
That like companies that like people bought the scripts, but then they just bought them for the name and changed everything. You know what I mean? So his name's attached to all these Living Dead movies, but they're not. You know, it's like they just bought them because it's Living Dead, and they just totally changed everything. You know what I mean?
Go watch Midnight and Midnight 2.
Even like Return of the Living Dead was supposed to Return of the Living Dead was supposed to open with at a funeral scene where a like preacher drives a stake into the head of a dead little girl. That's how the original Return of the Living Dead like opened. You know what I mean? So yeah, they changed that quite a bit.
She does not want to party.
No. But
there's a zombie vampire.
There you go. Yeah.
Listen, if you see like Carnival of Souls and things like that, Criterion can really do a great job with Night of the Living Dead. It's going to look really great.
Good.
So I know Rambo is going to be the first one to pick that up.
Yeah, that's an insta buy for Rambo.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Pre-order
for your Christmas presents. Myself. Throw in the garbage.
Every time
in seriousness, it's sad that they did this after Romero passed away.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to get interviews or stuff, the whole story on an official release like that.
Do you think they would have released it if he hadn't passed away?
That's a good question. I was thinking that. I was thinking that.
Well, they are putting the 2 commentaries he's done for it, and it says, and after all the extras, it says and more. Because I mean, there are so many like hour-long documentaries on Night of the Living Dead that they could just do this as a 2-disc. And what's really nice is with Silence of the Lambs and Night of the Living Dead, Criterion's kind of, not that there was a problem before, but they're getting away from putting the extras on the movie disc. So they're going to do 2-disc things where the extras are on disc 2 and the movie is going to have the full rate of the disc. So obviously it'll look really good.
That's good. That's good. Well, let's move on. I would go to Mike next, but Mike is no, here he is. Mike.
Sorry, I was quickly compiling a list.
I thought maybe you were, what are you vaping? We didn't ask you what are you vaping tonight, Mike. Is it your old standard?
Oh no, I got something new. It's Fruity Pebbles milkshake.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'd like that milkshake form.
That's interesting. I actually had a Fruit Loops milkshake not long ago. It wasn't very good, but I thought it was interesting.
Where was that at?
Like Burger King or something. I was like, I've got
It is Burger King.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like I gotta try that.
They're really throwing some stuff out there.
I know they have those Oreos too, the mystery Oreos. Those are Fruit Loop Oreos.
Fruit Loop Oreos? What is going on?
I mean, it's called mystery Oreos, but you can smell and taste. It's Fruit Loops. It's Fruit Loop Oreos.
Throwing everything in a blender now.
But
Fruit Loop milkshake.
Oh, Cameron, are you taking off?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to finish my paperwork. But thank you guys for letting me come on. I can't wait to see the rest of the show, see all your choices. You guys, there's a lot of great movies to pick from. So you guys have a great night.
All right, take it easy, buddy.
Take care, man.
Bye.
Take care.
Well, Mike, what have you got for us for 1988?
Oh man, that was hard. That was I left out some. It was like, oh, what about that one? What about this one? Well, I got to go with Die Hard action. I mean, I know it's been said. And what can you say about that one? I mean, great flick. Steven Seagal's first and probably best film, Above the Law. Rambo 3. That's another one. You can throw that one in there, but I'm gonna have to go with those two. So, action is Die Hard and Above the Law. I know Rambo. I'm sorry you had to sit through all of Seagal's films. So, if you did like Above the Law at one time, you probably hate it now.
No, I still like it. My favorite is Out for Justice, but Above the Law is a good one.
The first four are great, but
yeah, even I like the first four. I'm a big Seagal hater.
Yeah, Hard to Kill, Marked for Death. Yeah.
But there's a lot of good stuff. Those are the two I went with in the action category. In the comedy category, that was equally difficult, but I went with Beetlejuice, which to me is a classic.
Classic, yeah.
And Bill Murray and Scrooged.
Yeah, that's one of mine. That's one of mine.
That was mine too. Yeah.
Yeah, both of those were on my list.
Like Great Outdoors or Scrooged.
Great Outdoors is good.
Yeah, but Scrooge kind of edged it out, though.
Yeah, Scrooge is Scrooge.
My favorite comedy is one of my favorite Christmas movies. Love it.
Yeah, I agree. Scrooge is one of those I used to rent all the time. It was always on television around the holidays, on TBS and USA, of course.
Yeah.
And all the best movies go to TBS and USA. So yeah, and just Beetlejuice. My God, I mean, I used to rent Beetlejuice all the time. That was just like, what can you say about Beetlejuice?
It's one of Tim Burton's best movies.
Yeah.
So it's action and comedy. Let's go to drama, which is something I'm not normally, attracted to. But Rain Man with Dustin Hoffman, I thought was, a great film for what it is. I mean, it's not. I saw it once, thought it was whatever, and moved on. But for his career, it was great, I guess. Not a big fan of Tom Cruise, especially not in those kind of roles. His character kind of bothered me, but overall, the film was good. The second one I have picked is listed as a thriller, but it's Frantic with Harrison Ford.
Yeah, that's one of mine. I like Frantic. Overlooked movie.
I really, really enjoy that flick. Sci-fi.
I am an American, and I am crazy.
Sci-fi was a hard one, but I gotta go with Alien Nation. Yeah. Sorry, Jay.
It's like no one will pick that. No way anybody will pick that.
Andy Patinkin, James Caan. I haven't watched the TV show, even though it was inferior, but the movie was great. And of course, They Live.
Oh yeah.
How can you not pick They Live for sci-fi?
I've got it right there.
Yeah.
The Nation.
Yeah. I guess 88 probably is Orr's favorite year because he loves Die Hard, and They Live, he's often said, is his favorite movie. So
horror is kind of controversial. I know there was a Friday release and a Halloween release and a Nightmare release that year.
Yep.
I didn't pick any of them. Phantasm 2.
Ah.
Oh, good.
Probably one of my favorite Phantasm movies.
Mm-hmm.
I love the original, but 2 is great.
Mm-hmm.
And an original IP. Not a part 5, not a part 4, but Child's Play.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So those are my 2 horror picks. There was many ones that could have made the list, but right now at this time when I made the list, those are the ones that made the cut.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
Yeah. Child's Play was, I mean, 88, like you said, you had Halloween 4, you had Nightmare 4, you had Friday 7. You didn't have a whole lot of, like you said, original IPs, and Child's Play came, and Child's Play was critically liked, which a lot of those sequels weren't. Child's Play was critically liked. I remember, I think it was Roger Ebert's review, like a snippet of Roger Ebert's review was on the VHS box, like around the front. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow, you can get a decent review on a horror movie from him.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. And that
movie's hardcore too.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's endured, really. It's like,
Yeah, it's funny to see.
It has a silly premise, but they go for it,
Yeah, it's funny to see how that series is gone, considering that, yes, it's a silly premise, but they took it seriously. They made it dark, and it worked. Now it's like it's a silly premise that we're just going to make ridiculously silly and just to the point of being stupid.
It's Don Mancini for you.
The first 3 were
like they were horror, then went comedy, and are now trying horror again. And I'm not sure if the transition back was that successful.
I like them.
I don't know.
I haven't seen the latest one
It's
yet.
Child's Play, right? I mean, eventually, like how many quality movies can you get out of such a thing?
Right. I recently bought the box set, so I'm gonna go and revisit some of those that I've not seen in years, and I'll even watch Seed of Chucky. Even though
that's the only one I haven't seen. I haven't seen Seed.
Thank Ronnie you for fucking all that all up.
Yeah, Cole, just go ahead and keep living that way. Your life is better for having.
Yeah,
I don't need
one in this sense. That's what I've heard.
But Child's Play had a great cast too. I mean, Chris Sarandon, and you had Catherine Hicks.
Yep.
Of course, Brad Dourif. I mean, of course,
And out of all the movies to make him a star, I mean, he was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest,
he was the Oscar nominee for Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, and as everybody remembers him for Chucky.
Exactly, his voice.
The dude is a powerhouse actor. I mean, you've seen Exorcist 3.
Yeah, just watch that.
Keep in mind, he was in Mississippi Burning the same year. So
Yeah,
he had 2 movies that year at least.
Everybody reminds him as a murderous doll. It's pretty funny.
More good movies he's been in, right?
Well, even in like Halloween 2. I mean, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. He's like really good in that, really intense in that. You know what I mean?
He was the best thing about both of Rob Zombie's movies.
Yeah. So I mean,
he's just a good actor.
Yeah, great actor. But yeah, I mean, Mike is right. When people think Brad Dourif, they think of a doll. They don't think of Brad Dourif. Think of a doll.
I think of the voice. Yeah.
In the voice. That's it.
I think of Greater Shift.
Tonight I have a date with a 6-year-old boy. Yeah, that's great.
Brad Dourif, if I'm not mistaken, when Joss Whedon was talking about
that would have made it into the movie today.
When Joss Whedon was talking about like what went wrong with Alien Resurrection, he was talking about the character that Brad Dourif played, and he was just kind of saying, like, sometimes storytelling is casting, and the moment they cast Brad Dourif in the role of the character who's eventually going to betray everybody, I was kind of like, you're giving away the plot. Like, Brad Dourif is a fantastic actor, but he's the villain in everything, and so if you cast him in this role, you're basically telegraphing to the audience this guy is going to turn on everybody, which I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That movie's just like made up of character actors, really.
Yeah,
like him,
Ron
and Michael,
Perlman, I think
Michael Wincott, and Ron Perlman, and the other guy that's in the wheelchair, and the black guy. They're all like.
I disagree with Joss Whedon about that.
What movie is this?
Alien Resurrection. Well, what do you mean, Rambo?
Well, I've seen many films where he's been the good guy, Graveyard Shift, Body Parts, and I think I never thought of him as a villain.
Most people
love Body Parts.
A villain.
Most people.
I think
would.
general audience.
We're talking about more casual.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly. Like most people have not seen these movies.
He also wrote a bad script too.
Yeah. Well, and actually, it's a good point, and I like many of you jump all over the Rob Zombie Halloweens. I do agree he's a bright spot, and I actually like that he's a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he's not really like a dark character either. It's not like we're kind of like a good guy, but he's sleazy. It's like, no, he's the town sheriff, and he's kind of a good guy.
He's a good guy.
That was just a nice touch. Like, he actually got to play someone who's not,
and he was
filthy in some way.
Yeah, in that Rob Zombie universe.
Yeah,
right. In that Rob Zombie universe, he's a nice, normal, regular guy. You know what I mean? Like when he's eating that pizza and it's got meat on it, he's like, the meat, and he's like, it's like that's a nice kind of family moment in a Rob Zombie movie, for God's sake.
I suppose.
His reaction to the death of his daughter was just
very intense. Yeah,
very intense. It was like, wow, that performance. Should have been in a better film.
Yeah, it's almost like because you're almost thinking like, Brad, you can bring it down a little bit. This is a Rob Zombie. Save it for a better movie. But he's I admire that about him. He's a really good actor, no doubt about it.
Yes.
I'd love to see the set direction from Zombie on that.
I'm sure there was probably none. You just
exactly.
Just do what you do, man.
Act like you're a piece of shit, brother. Act like you live in a
try to work skull fuck into your dialogue.
There's not enough blood on her titties. Come on, fix that, would you?
Somebody get my wife's tits in the shot.
Oh God.
That's what film school.
Well,
we've had Die Hard brought up as the best action movie of '88 twice. I mean, let's take a second and talk about Die Hard. How awesome!
It's obviously on my list too, but I think
it's going to be on everybody's list because Die Hard is one of I'd say one of the best action movies ever.
Sure,
and
it wasn't a sequel.
It wasn't a sequel, and I think it introduced the world to here's the action star that doesn't have to be roided up. A million bullets are just kind of gliding off of him. You know what I mean? He's human. He's vulnerable. He's got flaws. You know what I mean? That's totally grounded. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to me, that part is the key takeaway of that movie because that came out in '88, and so we'd already had a few Stallone vehicles. We'd already had a few Schwarzenegger vehicles. And here's a guy who, Bruce Willis was a handsome guy. He wasn't, he had muscles, and it looked like he'd even kind of bulked up a bit for the role, but he still looked like average Joe. And that movie succeeds so well because you spend the movie like in his shoes, which sort of ironic since he's not wearing any, but like, because he's scared. Like most of the movie, like he's terrified. And yeah, he wisecracks and he does stuff, but like, every time he's doing something fantastical, like he fully expects that he's about to die.
Mm-hmm.
And it just lends a realism to what's going on. Like when he jumps off the roof, he's like, what are you doing, John? This is fucking stupid, John. Like, he's like freaking out. And like, I just think it endears him to the audience. And that's why I think the relationship between him and Sergeant Al Powell, Carl from Family Matters, that works too. It's like the audience has something like emotionally to grab onto. The thing with his wife, there's just that movie. Like when you talk about it as like one of the best action movies of all time, it's one of the best, mostly because it's so successfully kind of creates like an action movie that's like worth following, like in all phases. Like it's good action, good characters, good emotion, great music. Michael Kamen, bringing his A game. It's got everything going for it.
Yeah.
It kind of shows that superiors sometimes make mistakes that screw everything up, and they just get in the way. And sometimes it just takes like one good cop to actually solve a problem. I don't know his sense of humor while he's going through the whole thing, that like endears you to him too. I mean, because he's just like this dialogue the whole time he's talking to himself, and I don't know. The training really got him through it. He was just a regular dude. The glass scene where he cuts his feet. I mean, there's lots of really good moments in that film.
Yeah, you had the sense.
We didn't even talk about the villain at all.
Oh, Hans Gruber. I mean, definitely a strong villain.
Exactly.
Alan Rickman is just the ideal villain in so many ways. Because he's charming. That's the thing. Like, he's a bad guy and he does bad things, but Alan Rickman is really charming in the role, and he kind of works with the hostages a little bit. Like, he brings them out couches and stuff for the pregnant lady, and he sends them on bathroom breaks, all the while planning to kill these people on the roof. But there's just something, again, it's like he endears himself to the audience too. Every character is engaging.
Yeah, and I think his performance really kind of set the sequels up to be inferior because a strong villain is a good movie. Sure, in Die Hard 2, the villains were ruthless, but they didn't have the personality. They didn't have the engaging quality that he did.
That's true. Because I actually rather like Die Hard 2, and I know people fight with me about that a lot. I think Die Hard 2 largely does a lot of things right, like in terms of an evolution as a sequel, but you're 100% right that it's got a gaping hole in the villain. And I actually like Die Hard 3 as well, but even there, the villain isn't great.
But I would say it's probably the most brutal villain because he literally crashes a plane and kills an entire plane full of people. And he's so ruthless that even the people that work under him kind of look at him like, holy shit, this guy's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And then you got the drug lord guy you don't really identify with that guy at all. There's no, I guess what James was at he was in Good Times. I can't remember the guy's name.
JJ.
Oh, John Amos. He was the head of the special unit or whatever.
He's probably the closest to a bad guy with a personality. He kind of interacts with John, and I don't know.
Yeah, Robert Patrick for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
He says nothing and does nothing but die. Yeah.
But Rickman though, he knocked it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Also, the whole setup. Just the whole setup of Die Hard, where not too many movies had that one setting. Usually action films, you have to go all over the world, all over the country. After that, then it's like, we'd have a Die Hard in a blank, Die Hard in a plane, Die Hard on a train, Die Hard in a...
Yeah, I was going to say that. It was something that started to shift in action movies, and that was one of them.
It's like Die Hard in a... That's how you market it.
Exactly.
That'd be funny if it said Die Hard in a building.
Yeah.
I mean, Speed was described as Die Hard on a bus. Yeah.
Some of them got creative.
Sudden death.
Like, so I was just gonna say, Sudden Death is Die Hard at a hockey game.
Man, I love that movie too.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
Jean-Claude Van Damme fight and kill a woman dressed as a penguin?
Can you imagine the casting on Die Hard? It's like, no. You've seen Moonlighting, right?
Right.
You know Bruce Willis from Moonlighting.
Yeah.
He's gonna be awesome. Like, I mean, they would never buy that.
Come on, he was in Blind Date.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like a year after he had like that music video and stuff too.
Well, had it been passed around,
album.
It's true. Like, you got to think, because especially how big Die Hard was, he was really making a leap from TV. Yeah. And even now, TV actors have a tough time successfully making that leap. I mean, I guess not. What's his face? Walter White. Can't think of the actual actor's name.
Oh, so, yeah.
Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston. He's been in a ton of movies, but never quite, again, nothing like Die Hard. He's never been like the breakout movie star that like launches a franchise kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I think of him as the dentist on Seinfeld.
Oh, Watley. Tim Watley.
Tim Watley, yeah.
You anti-dentite bastard.
And that was, 25 years ago?
Yeah.
Well,
Bryan Cranston?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. The first time I never saw that. First time I saw him, he was the dad on Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah.
Malcolm in the Middle.
Forgot about that. Well, let's move on. Stingray, what you got for us?
Oh man,
seems like you picked some deep tracks. You were trying to pick some stuff that you thought nobody else would pick.
Well, let's say for action, I've got Cop.
Okay,
you guys seen that?
Yeah.
James Woods.
James Woods, yeah.
Oh,
Love
yeah,
James Woods.
That is excellent.
And I had Alien Nation also, but we'll just cross that off. Let's say for drama, I've got Dead Ringers.
Good one.
Watch that.
And,
almost made it.
Let's see. I'll go with Heathers. As my second one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh yeah.
And for horror, have we mentioned The Blob yet?
Not yet.
Blob remake?
Not yet.
Okay. There's one of my top picks that actually got in.
It's gonna be on Rambo's list.
I was, yes.
And Night of the Demons.
Yep, that was on my list. Yep.
And for comedy, let's see, this is a tough one. Coming to America, of course.
Damn. Yeah.
Mhm.
I was hoping that one would slip through.
Shit, I'm trying to decide. The Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, I guess I'll go with. My second.
Okay. I mean, solid. I mean, you definitely had two on my sci-fi horror list with The Blob and Night of the Demons. Night of the Demons being another one of those, original IP movies that came out, in '88 amidst all those sequels, and The Blob being a remake. So,
Night of the Demons has a special place in my heart. It's one of the first times I ever saw full frontal nudity.
I think I agree with you. It has a special place in my heart because I blind rented it, not knowing what to expect, just thinking it was going to be like a bad, movie.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. Like, oh my god, this is great. You know what I mean?
I did the same thing, and I was like, oh, I got to get the second one, and the second one's not nearly as good.
No. Have you seen the third one?
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah,
really, not
Yeah. Part two is not bad. Part 3 is bad.
I think they get worse as it goes on. But,
Yeah.
That's usually the rule.
as most movies. Oh yeah.
And actually, the Night of the Demons remake is good until it becomes a Night of the Demons remake. Then it sucks. Like when it's just about the characters, it's good. Once it gets into the house and everybody starts turning into demons, it's god awful.
I just can't get over what Edward Furlong is in that.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's
They let him out of prison for it.
he's tolerable. He's tolerable. I'll put it that way. Until they get to the house, then it just sucks. It just sucks. But yeah, great movie, great effects, great performances, creepy atmosphere, and like you said, Linnea Quigley bearing all. I remember more the scene that sticks out to me that blew my mind was when she sticks the tube of lipstick in her boob.
Yes. Oh
like,
man.
Whoa! I got freaked me out. Man. I was like, oh my god, that's awesome.
You weren't expecting that to happen at all.
And like that prosthetic looked so real. You know what I mean? It's like wow. Yeah, such a good movie, man. Such a good, fun horror movie. Always good to watch that around the Halloween season. And The Blob, oh my god! The Blob totally tanked, and nobody saw it back in '88, and it's so freaking good,
And I watched The Blob with my kids a few months ago. I was like, I couldn't think of anything too bad in there. They loved it, man. They were like, oh, look at these people melting and stuff.
Well, talk about the effects in that movie.
Oh,
my God.
Really good.
My God. Amazing.
It's probably some of the best effects in the 80s.
Yeah. Like when the one dude who you think is like going to be the hero of the movie, the Letterman guy, like it falls on him from the ceiling and it's pulling back and it just sort of like just skins him, it's just, oh my god, it's great stuff, man. Great stuff.
The child. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I love the scene in the phone booth too, where she's like trying to call the sheriff, and then
she gets pulverized.
Yeah, and then like the blob comes up against the thing, and he's inside the thing, like melting away. Oh man, such just awesome movie. Awesome.
Another guy.
Is that Shawnee Smith?
Yeah.
Shawnee Smith,
Shawnee Smith.
Shawnee Smith, Matt Dillon's brother. What was
Kevin
Dillon? Yeah. You've got a lot of familiar faces. The guy that was on the guy who's in like every Frank Darabont project. I forget his name.
Oh yeah.
Jeffrey DeMunn.
Jeffrey
DeMunn.
Jeffrey DeMunn. Yeah. He's in there. Candy Clark, Donovan Lee. Really good cast.
Who's the girl that the guy's like he's mixing drinks in his trunk, and he brings her a drink. The blonde that's someone she went on to be.
I
forget. Yeah, that's a good scene, man. That's just such a good movie.
Oh, that's Erica Eleniak.
Yes,
From
Erica
Under
Eleniak,
Siege.
yes, from Under Siege, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody's like yes. Yeah,
I'm aware of her work.
I'm aware of her body of work.
Aware of her talents.
Rambo, I know you're a huge fan of the Blob remake. Do you want to?
Well, yeah, that's for horror. That would be my number one. But that's a film I've defended for years. But Jay mentioned it. It's a great flick. We were just talking about. So let me mention two that haven't been mentioned. Go over my list. Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood.
Mm-hmm.
Fair idea that I mentioned since Elm Street 4 and Halloween 4 and Phantasm 2. The New Blood, I enjoy that, especially online. Someone did like a version where they took the theatrical cut and they put in the uncut word print scenes, and they made it look like a VHS, which looked pretty cool. So it's like seeing the film cut like it was on a VHS tape, and I enjoy that. It's Kane Hodder as Jason, my favorite look of Jason. The telekinetic stuff I was cool with because it's a Part 7.
Yeah, that's
When
what
you get to a Part
that's what
7,
I always say, right? It's like it's Part 7. You got to do something.
Do something different. And I like the lead girl, Laura Part Lincoln. I thought she did a great job. Pretty fast paced. Again, it's too bad that Paramount cut everything out. I think if they didn't, it would be a more well-liked sequel. It's just they cut all the gore out.
Yeah.
But other than that, very satisfying sequel to me. The second I will mention from my childhood, Watchers with Corey Haim.
Oh yeah.
And I'm a fan of Corey Haim. Other two Corys, like Feldman, I'm okay. I was more of a Corey Haim fan because I liked Silver Bullet and other stuff. And Watchers are like one of those monster movies I saw as a kid. One of those that got me into it. I have read the book. I'm actually one of those that prefer the movie more. It's more of a dumbed down version, but I prefer that. I was always a Corey Haim fan. I always liked Watchers. Let's see, sci-fi. I will go with Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Nice.
Just a very quirky, crazy, original type of movie. People getting melted by ice cream and crazy musical score and nice designs by the Kyoto brothers who worked on Critters. I thought they did a nice job directing that film. And then the other sci-fi I'll mention is one called Pulse from 1988, starring one of the Lawrences. And a very weird but simple plot where this family moves in and the electrical pulse seems to be alive. It's a tame movie, but I thought it was pretty well directed considering the subject matter. I always like Pulse. It's a film it has nothing to do with the Japanese horror films later on. It's a completely different movie. Let's see. Comedy. I do love Scrooged, but let me think of others. Short Circuit 2.
Yeah.
Ah, damn.
Your mother is a snowblower.
I enjoyed the first one. I thought this was a nice step for the sequel. I thought the way that they just beat the hell out of Johnny Five was pretty heartbreaking as a kid.
I cried.
Yeah.
I cried
but would Fisher Stevens' performance would that fly today?
No.
Probably not.
Certainly
No.
not.
No.
And would we be considered bad people because we laughed at it?
Dude, I'll be honest with you. Until a few years ago, I didn't know that guy wasn't Indian. I didn't know.
I only figured it out when he was on Lost. I was like, wait a second, is that the same guy?
I feel so stupid. I mean, like, I've seen this movie a lot, like, in the past few years, and I didn't know.
Wasn't he in, like, My Science Project or something like that before that?
He was.
When I think
because I had seen that first, so I knew that he didn't
When
speak that way. So to me, I got the comedy, but now it's like you feel dirty for laughing at it.
When I think of Fisher Stevens, I think of him from The Burning.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
he's
of
one of
Fisher
the
Stevens.
guys get killed. Yeah, that's right. His fingers cut off.
Yeah. Of course, when I think of Jason Alexander, I don't think of Seinfeld. I think of The Burning too.
Oh, okay.
It's all about the burn.
It is with me, yes.
You're a Harvey Weinstein fan, man. That's...
Well, let's not go there.
But yeah, I always enjoyed Short Circuit 2. And the other, I know Scrooge was mentioned, but just that commercial. Just that commercial at the beginning, it showcasing Christmas. And just, like the Michael Mann version of Christmas Carol, something like the Oliver Stone version of Christmas Carol. And then like we got a staple the mice, sailors on the mice. We just stop.
Staple them on?
just stop the goddamn hammering.
It's
Hilarious.
Such a good movie. I think that may need to be a live commentary.
Oh man, was it Carol Kane? She played the fairy that beats the shit out of him.
Yeah,
That's right. Bobcat Goldthwait.
Bobcat. Oh god,
that's why it was on my list. Oh, there's just so many reasons that movie is great.
Going to drama, Clean and Sober with Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
I
Really
love
good.
that one.
Really good story about him. He's a successful guy into drugs, gets put into this clinic with, I think, Morgan Freeman. I believe he's in it, who's trying to help him out get sober. Really good performance by Michael Keaton. Definitely, I would say his most underrated performance is in Clean and Sober. And then the other drama is Miracle Mile with Anthony Edwards. And it's one of those that starts out like a drama, but it's like a thriller. It's like, what if you did a call in a phone booth and this guy on the end randomly says, it's 70 minutes till the end of the world. Do you believe it? Do you not? Is it a hoax? Is it not a hoax? I don't want to give it away for people who haven't seen it, but there's Anthony Edwards trying to get to his girl and chaos erupts and you're left thinking throughout it, was it all real? Is it not real? Until the end of the film, which I'm not going to give away. But Miracle Mile, that's a definitely underrated film in my opinion. And then action, well, people mentioned Die Hard, of course. Being a Rambo film, I'm a fan of Rambo 3. It's more the superhero Rambo, but as a kid, I was fine with that. I am to that day. Bloodsport.
Political implications.
Bloodsport.
Bloodsport, yep.
A Bloodsport fan.
On my list.
Since
Kumite.
B-movie might have mentioned Steven Seagal, I had mentioned Jean-Claude Van Damme. I mean, Chun Li. You break my record. Now I break you like I break your friends.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh, yeah, the guy from Revenge of the Nerds. That's right.
Yeah, what was his name?
Donald
Ogre.
Gibb.
Ogre.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Donald Gibb, yeah.
Yeah.
Very, I mean, really what broke Van Damme out there. Love Bloodsport. Love the tournament setting. I don't care. Yes, I know it's not a true story. I don't think anyone believed it was a true story.
No.
But and then
It's just fun.
yeah, and then I think you mentioned like etc. Like what the fuck movies, Brain Damage and RoboWar. Brain Damage, Frank Henenlotter, nice try. More than a try, it was a nice allusion to drug addiction. With this Elmer, I forget who voices it. It was like an old horror host.
Yeah, who was? I can't remember.
Zachary.
Yes, Zachary. You're right. Yeah,
that's voices this thing that sticks to his brain, and then makes him do things. And if he does, he gets this blue juice inside his brain, and he sees all these colors and crazy stuff that makes him feel good. And then RoboWar is like it's a really bad Bruno Mattei ripoff of Predator starring Red Brown, who screams a lot. And,
from Space Mutiny.
Yeah. It's a total ripoff of Predator from beginning to end, only the Predator is like a guy in a black Metroid suit or something. I don't know how you call it. And Bruno Mattei is definitely a what the fuck movie that's pretty hilarious. So those are some of my choices there.
Oh, cool.
Nice
There's
work.
so many. Maniac Cop, Bad Dreams.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Pumpkinhead.
A lot of good horror from
Black Roses.
Two.
Black Roses. Yes, of course.
Black Roses. Yep.
Well, Cole, what have you got on your list, man?
Let's see. Some different stuff. To do it quickly, like the comedies have already been named. I think my comedies would have been A Fish Called Wanda and Scrooged. Love those both. But for the sake of what will be coming right after that, because it's something different, is definitely a big, important movie, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That holds up so great today. It's a really good comedy, and the effects, the blending and stuff like that, and having all those famous characters in the same movie together. One of those things that actually sort of really lived up to the hype, I think, and it really kickstarted a renewed interest in animation, like leading to sort of the animation renaissance that we would see late 80s going to the 90s, where like suddenly like cartoons and stuff would have like actual budgets and stuff. Like DuckTales was really the one that kicked that off in '89. After, you know, people in the 60s, 70s, 80s were just used to, you know, low budget, for the most part, kind of half-assed cartoons, right? It was like, oh, this is for kids. It's not important. We don't have to put much work into it. But the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, and I think as a direct result of something, the success of it paved the way for these like new, bigger budget, much more taken seriously animated shows that you would see there. Of course, Batman the Animated Series is the best one and the best example, but other ones too, like Disney's Gargoyles. Like these were big projects with like, you know, actual actors, not just like voice actors. Not that I want to downplay voice actors, because I think, you know, they deserve a lot of credit and recognition for what they do. So yeah, I love Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So thought I'd mention that for the comedies. Action, we've already said enough about Die Hard. Die Hard's one, but my other one is Police Story 2, which is not quite as good as Police Story 1, but is really still awesome. It picks up right after the end of the first one. It's just more of a continuation of the same story. Yeah, I mean, what you can say is Jackie Chan at the absolute height of his, if you want to see like his best, because Jackie Chan really did two, before he crossed over and did some of the American movies, he basically had two sort of movies, and he invented the latter with the first Police Story, because he did sort of like pure sort of kung fu movies, and then he did like kung fu action adventure type thing hybrids, and Police Story was really the first one of those. And Police Story 2 is a very worthy sequel. It's really good. Some really memorable stunts and stuff going on in there. So yeah, so that's for action. Over here and stuff, but what else we got? For drama, one is The Accused. I've always been a really big fan of. It's Jodie Foster, I believe, the story about and it's a pretty famous scene. People always remember like her dancing provocatively in like this sleazy bar by like the arcade machines, and all these like redneck men sort of like taking notice until the point, you know, that they kind of go too far. But it's a really interesting story based on true story, and I think really well acted by Jodie Foster, because she was not the obvious choice, I think, to play such a character pretty well, because she's like a really sort of like uneducated, sort of spunky, sort of from the streets type character, which I don't know, it seems to be playing against type for somebody like Jodie Foster. I think she does a really good job with it. Plus it has some courtroom stuff going on. I'm always a big fan of courtroom dramas when they're done right. And my other big drama is the not as much talked about and very sad and depressing Grave of the Fireflies, which is you know, such a powerful movie that it almost always gets put on lists of like best movies of all time and stuff like that. And it's one of the few movies where even like people that are, you know, maybe have a prejudice or a blind spot when it comes to animated movies, where they'll just sort of put that aside and accept it as a movie and not be like, for an animated movie. They just say a movie. I mean, that was by, what is it? Is it Isao Takahara? But anyway, if I got his name wrong, sorry. But he's sort of the forgotten guy at Studio Ghibli, the guy who's not Hayao Miyazaki. He's actually a bit older. I mean, he did a few, and he directed a few different ones, although it was a lot less frequent. And his big masterpiece is definitely Grave of the Fireflies, which is just a extremely extraordinary, powerful, moving movie. And, you know, it looks as great as all those others do. And some of those shots of like the sky and the ruined landscape and stuff. For people that don't know, it's, you know, following a couple orphaned children as they make their way through the wreckage of a city in Japan during World War II, and how they're trying to fend for themselves and not die and starve to death and stuff. And it has a very sad downer ending, but it's just a really powerful anti-war film, I think, because it just shows, you know, how like sort of, you know, not soldiers, not, but just how every day the common people are affected by war. There's other movies that do that too, but this is probably, to me, the best one. So I can't speak enough about that. Grave of the Fireflies, we should always put on a list of movies to see, I think. So awesome. What else we got? I mean, everybody already did horror. I'm not going to do horror because there's nothing I can add to that or anything like that. But we'll go into, like, I guess, Well, I'll bring up documentary. My favorite documentary of all time came out in 1988, and that is Cane Toads and Unnatural History. I've talked about it before on this show. It's the best documentary of all time. I'm not even kidding. I love it. It's like, I don't think they meant for it to be funny. It's just one of those things that's like unintentionally funny that is just so funny. And I mean, it's a well done documentary besides that, but just the whole overarching tone and like what's going on is just hilarious to me. Just love that. I haven't watched it in a couple of years. I'm looking forward to seeing it again. It's just an amazing movie. But yeah, if you want to like buy it, yeah, you're gonna have to pay through the nose for like a copy.
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive and sort of rare to get a hold of.
When you had brought it up in the past, I think I rented it somewhere.
Yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
Absolutely love that movie. Yeah, so it's about how in the late 70s, government in a part of Australia had tried to bring over these cane toads from Hawaii and introduce them because they were having a problem with insects eating the crops, and it was about how it backfired spectacularly. And it's like the poster child story for how it can go wrong when you take a foreign species and introduce them into a new environment. And of course, yeah, it's about how the horrifying effect they had not on just on the ecosystem, but on people in general and the economy and everything going on, like just how awful the effect was. And this was even years later, and like to this day, I think they still have a cane toad population that causes problems. But I mean, it cost the government like a ton of money to try to figure out a solution to it and everything. So it's also quite serious too, because it was really messing things up and messing up people's lives and stuff. Documentary category, and I guess I'll finish off with like sci-fi and or fantasy. So Willow, of course, is really great.
I had Willow on my list.
Yeah, really like Willow. That's there's a lot of movies from the 80s that I didn't see when I was a kid and only saw as an adult, so I don't have like memories of seeing them as a little kid. But Willow is one. I saw Willow as a little kid. And I've seen it many times throughout my life, and watched it about a year ago. Actually, Jay and I even did a whole show on it. And, and revisiting it at that, it just holds up so well. It shows that George Lucas, he could do stuff besides Star Wars. I mean, it has some of that Star Wars stuff going. Some of the stuff's a little on the nose. It's certainly not a very original story. It's just sort of like George Lucas taking the story of Lord of the Rings and condensing it and changing it slightly and stuff. But I mean, still just a really great movie. A rare movie where a little person, Warwick Davis, is the star. He is the hero, which is, still a very rare thing. And I mean, sure, you could say, oh, well, it's a fantasy movie and he's playing like some sort of dwarf character, but I don't think in any way it's like insulting or anything like that. I don't think so. I think it plays very well. I think the characters are treated with a lot of respect and dignity. And it's not like anybody's making fun of the little people in it, I don't think. So, but, and anyway, then we'll just bring to my favorite movie of 1988 by far, which is, I don't know, just a fucking masterpiece. I don't really know what to say about it. I mean, based up.
What movie was it? You kind of cut out.
Akira.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Which is, sorry about that. Just a masterpiece based on the manga that had run from 1982. The manga I don't even think the manga was finished. It was still ongoing when they did it. Much longer. What they basically did was they took the first volume, and the first volume is supposed to end with like sort of an explosion that when the first time like Akira's powers are released, and it leads to Neo Tokyo being leveled, and then all the other volumes are basically sort of like a post-apocalyptic setting where the city's been destroyed and these groups pop up, blah blah blah. What this did was, since it's a movie and they had to make it short, they skips over all that, and it just takes sort of the ending of the whole series and sticks it on to the end of the first volume, which sounds terrible, but it actually works really well. Groundbreaking breakthrough movie with its cell animation, and it was really the movie that began before the boom in the mid 90s of like anime becoming popular in the West. This was sort of like the first sort of like crack in the dam where stuff was finally being seen over here and getting recognition. Akira being that, and it was another thing I think that was also at least indirectly part of the whole animation renaissance in the West, because it was showing, because like the animation techniques they were doing were just so much more detailed and cost and took so much more work and money and stuff like that. But the quality's all there. I mean, the movie is just goddamn spectacular to look at. And I mean, it's funny, like one of my favorite things to talk about visually in movies is I really like how lighting is used. You usually don't think about that in an animated movie, but I mean, the lighting effects in Akira might be like the best I've ever seen. And it's an animated movie. It's not even real lighting. It's the color and stuff like that, but it's just spectacular. And I mean, I don't want to go on too much, but everybody knows like the impact that Akira's had on culture and all the movies and things that have ripped it off, some in more subtle ways and some in really on the nose ways and stuff. But yeah, it's my favorite movie of 1988 by like a lot. So I'm always happy to be able to bring it up. So I think that probably covers them because I don't want to go on at too much length.
Okay.
A few that like I like, but not saying we need discussion on them. Frantic was one of them. Another one, animated one, but it's more for kids, but I still really enjoy and have memories of, was the very first Land Before Time. There's another series that just went off a cliff with a bunch of retarded sequels. Like, I mean, there's still sequels to this day coming out. They're on like the 12th or 13th. It's goddamn horrible. I don't think any of them are good, but the very first Land Before Time is quite the satisfying movie. It's one of the last, to me, movies that's done well by Don Bluth and his people.
Oh man, I loved it.
Terrible in the 90s. But
I still have my little foot stuffed animal.
Yeah, it's a really powerful and emotional movie.
Yeah.
Back in like how stuff can be serious and stuff. And I mean, some of the characters are kind of one note, but at the same time, it is with kids in mind. And I think they're fun, memorable characters. Petrie and his "I flied" and yup, and all that stuff. Like, yeah, very simple one-note characters, but very appealing and good for kids, especially compared to some of the kids' movies you see when you just think all these characters are fucking terrible and annoying, So yeah, I think that still stands out as sort of a benchmark and a movie that I can still enjoy a lot as an adult. Like an art style that isn't very true to life. Like they don't follow the dinosaur models too closely. They're kind of cartoony dinosaurs, but I don't mind that at all and stuff. But yeah, a really cool movie that I definitely enjoy a lot. Keep going and stuff. And I'll also say, 1988 was also when the Czech version of Alice in Wonderland called Alice came out, and that's a fucked up little movie that I really enjoy. It's up and full of like stop animation and puppetry and stuff, and it can definitely give you nightmares because most of the animals look like they were like dead animals cobbled together with like nails and wood and stuff, but it's just called Alice. And it's really something to see. It's one of the few movies that actually does feel like a dream because, of course, Alice in Wonderland is supposed to be based on Alice having a dream. This movie feels like a total dream. Like, everything's just so weird and surreal and stuff. So I really like that. So I think I'll leave it at those. If there's any others you guys want to talk about in more detail. But those are ones for me, besides some of the ones that we've already mentioned.
Cool. Eric, what do you got, buddy?
I won't even mention Die Hard. I mean, it's covered ad nauseum, but that's definitely on my list. But one that I was glad no one else mentioned, but I like it, Deadpool, in my action category. The final
that came out like
Dirty
2 years
Harry
ago,
movie.
man. That came out.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's
The
Deadpool, yes.
Is this a prequel? Is this a prequel?
The final Dirty Harry movie, which by the way is not really even all that good. It's sort of a movie that sits entirely on Clint Eastwood's shoulders, and he's really the only thing that makes it watchable. But it's got a really interesting cast, and I think it has the first appearance of like Jim Carrey in a major movie.
Yeah.
It might be his first role overall. He plays this kind of like rocker dude who gets like drugged out and dies in a music video directed by Liam Neeson. So there's just some interesting actors.
He's singing "Welcome to the Jungle."
That's right. It's "Welcome to the Jungle."
I think this is the same year as Earth Girls Are Easy. So,
and I think it has
Yes.
a couple of cameos.
Peggy Sue Got Married, which I think is 86.
Oh, okay.
And Carrey has a small role in that. But anyway, yeah.
So you have Jim Carrey
and, like,
playing an
Patricia
actual
Clarkson.
Rose-like character.
Yeah.
And then you have Slash, Duff, and I think Steven were actually in a couple shots in the film.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
It's a again, it's true. Like, it is really not even close to being the best of that franchise. That was left behind like a couple movies ago, but still, it's cool. It was a Dirty Harry movie. It was the last one, and like I'm pretty sure the way he kills the villain in the end is he shoots him with like a giant boat hook, which is kind of like it's a way of improving upon his 44 caliber by just like shooting a guy with like a giant
harpoon.
Yeah, it's something like that. So that's that. Like, and you guys already mentioned like Rambo 3 as well. That was on my list, but Deadpool's kind of the only original one I have left.
That's a car chase with a toy car.
That's right. There's actually a car chase, and it's sort of an interesting chase too. And I actually think it's sort of effective. But it really it's such a like if I remember correctly too, that whole sequence and like his partner in that movie, it's kind of just such a joke of cliches because he kind of has like the old partner who's close to retirement, and like Dirty Harry has that reputation of like all of his partners die.
He has the Asian guy, so of course he knows martial arts. So.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
there is a scene where his Asian partner does beat someone up with martial arts. That's correct. So in my drama category, like Cameron and a few others already covered Mississippi Burning. I love that movie. Like I'm a huge Gene Hackman fan, and I just like he's just fantastic in that movie. He's really just one of those actors that's just so effortless. Like he doesn't seem like he's acting. And I always respect that. The one that hasn't come up yet, there's actually two. The first one's a legitimate choice. The one I'm saying perhaps more for shock value. The first one would be Bright Lights, Big City with Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
That's a totally underrated movie. I really enjoy that movie.
Yeah.
Exactly. See, that's why I picked it, because I actually think, I'm trying to think back, like there's not a single movie that Michael J. Fox made that I don't like. His movie choices, and admittedly there were only a few, but I don't know. I liked it. And I also like that it was a little bit more dramatic than the other stuff he did. Like Secret of My Success is really kind of a comedy. Doc Hollywood's obviously a comedy. This one's like a little bit more pure drama.
Oh, yeah.
And
he did that serious Vietnam one, though, too.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. That's true.
Casualties of War.
Yeah.
That's true.
Which I think is also very good. But yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one I hadn't been.
Oh, go ahead.
The other one, which is the more shock value one, would be Two Moon Junction, starring Miss Sherilyn Fenn, which I would just note, if you are a Sherilyn Fenn fan, that is the movie for you. I'll leave it at that.
You said shock value. I thought you were going to say Mac and Me.
Wait, is that
That's
88?
on my list. That's on my list.
I thought that was 89.
Oh, that's 88.
Oh goodness, I should have picked Mac and Me. Well, that'll go under my sci-fi category then, because I actually Short Circuit 2 was going to be what I was going to say, but I think we listed it under comedy, but whatever. Under horror, we covered everything. The one I picked that we hadn't said yet, and it is hardly a masterpiece, but would be Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers.
I like it.
And it's one of the maybe you guys would agree, because I think we all kind of like schlocky horror as much as we like, really, really good horror. It's kind of so stupid. I really do kind of enjoy it. It's so goofy. You can tell they're sort of trying to do Friday the 13th and Freddy, because all of a sudden Angela is just super quippy when she kills people.
Yeah, she's talking to the camera all the time.
Yeah, and it's just weird, but I don't know, it's a movie that I kind of enjoy watching. Like every now and again I have like a DVD of it that's like super bad quality, but it's worth pulling out. But
it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
I think it has more rewatchability than the original.
Oh, for sure. Well, because the first one's just so shocking. Like I can't just watch that ending again and again. I have to sort of take a break.
Yeah, look at the baby dick and then move on.
Yeah. But I do want to say, because I know I've brought it up on here before, that even though we've talked about it, Halloween 4 is my favorite Halloween sequel, even over Halloween 2. I just like so much about that movie. And so, again, we discussed it, but that's definitely on my list as a favorite in the horror category.
I like it.
Obviously, I had all the others you guys listed out, like Friday the 13th, Nightmare, Child's Play, The Blob.
Mm-hmm. Halloween 4 would definitely be higher in my esteem, but Michael Myers looks like dog shit. I mean, not as bad as 5, but it just takes me out. It just looks like somebody in a dime store Michael Myers costume. It's just not the same.
I don't mind them. Like, you just mean the mask or the whole thing?
The body shape, the mask, the whole 9 yards. It
Well-
looks like somebody impersonating him.
Granted, he did at a dime store.
He did. That's true.
Yeah,
did
yeah,
wear
that's
it.
it.
I know he meant.
In 4 and 5, it was more like Family Dollar in the dollar store
Yeah.
versus a Halloween shop.
I love Halloween 4 because it doesn't capture the time of year as well as like Halloween 6 does, but it's still got that kind of fall,
Yeah.
feel about it. For some reason, I just love that everything is blue in the movie too.
Yeah, it's got a lot of blue tones.
Yeah, and I don't, the mask is different. Michael is a little bit different, but I like it. I love the opening montage of like the countryside and like the old decrepit barns and the farm implements and stuff over that score. I think that's just a really great way to start that movie. And I would rent, for some reason, whenever I rented part 4, I had to rent part 5 with it. It's like those two movies just went. I mean, they go together, of course, but I mean, it's like they're a continuation of the same movie, even though one is considerably better than the other. I had to rent them both together and watch them back to back.
I felt exactly the same way. That when I would, and that was how it used to be. Like before I owned them, as like a kid, we'd go to the store and it's like I had to get Halloween 1 and 2 because those two have a similar kind of symbiotic relationship where it's like it's just the later part of the same night. And Halloween 4 and 5, the same thing, where I had to get I couldn't just get one. It's like if I was gonna get 4, 5 was always a part of it. And so
a mistake ever. Like 4 ends, he goes into the river, and then it's like he's in like a weird suspended coma for exactly a year because some crazy homeless guy keeps him. Then he wakes up just on Halloween. Like they're not even trying for that one.
It's the mark of Thorn.
It's the mark. Well, and it's funny, like reading about the stuff, and this is Halloween 5, so it's 89, but Halloween 5 just sounds like a complete mess from start to finish in terms of its production because apparently there was a whole sequence, like the whole idea of that thing that you're talking about. There wasn't like an old dude with a toucan or whatever on his shoulder. There was some sort of like witch doctor that's like what resurrects him, which sounds stupider than what they actually did. But there was all kinds of other stuff.
I thought there were pictures.
Like, because in fact, I think the mark of
my problem is it's just so haphazard. It's like, oh, he just so happens for this, and it just coincidence piled upon coincidence. It just seems really lazy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they had less.
Part 5 is.
They had less than a year to make that movie. They wanted to get that movie out quick. So I mean, they just
Part
threw it
5,
together.
like I sort of hate watch Part 5 now. So I actually have a good time watching it because I just hate Tina. I hate all the characters. Even Dr. Loomis is like threatening Jamie the damn movie. He's like, he's not even really.
I get a kick out of Loomis. Loomis is absolutely
at
the end of his rope in this movie. He was wild-eyed. He's completely lost it at this point. Which
it's like he keeps like locking people out and just cornering this like 10-year-old girl in a room. It's like you know where he is.
Bleeding in her face.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it has its entertainment value, but I completely agree the quality went down a lot from Halloween 4, which again I like very much.
There's a lot of weird, like, the dude that directed it, he's like French or something. I don't remember, something like that.
Yeah.
But I think he brought a weird European kind of vibe to the movie as far as the look and the feel and like the way that he shot, the way it just brought like a European kind of feel to it. I thought
it's kind of gothic.
Exactly. It's very gothic. Yeah, it's very gothic. And I don't know. It's not a very good movie. It's definitely haphazard, but I don't know. There's something about it. I can watch it and be okay with it. But I mean, it was definitely rushed. It was rough. It was very rough. Put it that way. Very rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think outside of the US, it went like straight to video in other countries.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So that's what I had for horror. Under comedy, I was actually I can't believe no one else mentioned this unless maybe somebody dropped out and I missed it. But so my number 1 was Coming to America, but someone already mentioned that. My number 2, The Great Outdoors. I don't know how I'm the first one to bring that one up.
Somebody
I mentioned it, but Scrooge beat it out.
Yeah.
Oh, did you? Oh, I'm sorry. The quality, as you know, I keep dropping out. I'm sorry about that. So I missed it. Well, then I do have a backup. The Naked Gun. Anyone mention Naked Gun?
Oh, yeah.
That was on my list.
So the first Naked Gun.
The original Naked Gun. The best one.
Which and it's like just shocking to me like how good of like a spoof parody that movie is, and the way in which it does parody. So like modern parody stuff never really works all that well. The one thing that actually does it sort of well now is that show on TBS. How's it called? Can't think of it now. It's like a cop parody show starring Rashida Jones, but I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah, it's, I know what that is.
Reno 911?
No, it's named after the character.
Yeah, shit. This is driving me crazy.
Rebecca something.
No idea.
Just give me a second. I've got it.
Ernie Hudson.
While you're thinking of the name, like that show, I actually think
Angie
captures parody.
Tribeca.
Angie Tribeca, there you go. That's actually the first parody I've seen in like the modern era that I think gets parody right. I actually think it's pretty funny. But Naked Gun, very funny. It's like Leslie Nielsen is just so effective in that movie because like Leslie Nielsen was a serious actor. Not that he stopped being a serious actor, but like he was so serious. It's like like the whole movie is a joke, but like his character doesn't know it. And it's just, I don't know, it's just very effective, very funny, I think.
I still think he's underrated as a talent. He was just like, he was the king of the deadpan. Like nobody could do it. And like you said, like how he could just commit to stuff that's so seriously, that is so ridiculous. Like that's actually a talent. That's not easy to do.
And it's really shocking that I always mention he played the heavy in films in like the 60s, 70s, and even the early 80s.
Yeah, and he did
it just seamlessly over to comedy.
Yeah, Prom Night, he was the dad, and he was a dick.
Yeah. But that's so great. Like, yeah.
The only other thing I had on my list, which was really more of a joke than anything, but this was also the year of Police Academy 5, Assignment Miami Beach, which
never saw that one.
It's notable only because it was the first non-Steve Guttenberg Police Academy movie. He left at the end of part 4 and he didn't come back.
Oh, the guy
which one's Mission to Moscow?
That's part 7.
I saw that one. I saw that one. Yeah, I don't know the order of them at all, but I saw part 7. Wow. 7? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And there was also a TV series too on Fox.
When are we going to get the Police Academy reboot with Ryan Reynolds and the Steve Guttenberg one, you know?
They've been talking about doing a
I'm
reboot
fine
of
with that, really. Like, I don't believe at all that Steve Guttenberg was a talent in any way. I'm baffled.
What?
I have no idea that Steve Guttenberg was a successful person. Like, what is wrong with society that Steve Guttenberg was like a movie star at one point? Like, what the fuck? Just as bland.
You ever saw Cocoon?
Exactly. You have said some radical things on this show, Cole. That's probably the most radical statement you've ever made. We're talking about Steve Guttenberg here.
Steve Guttenberg couldn't act his way out of a paper bag, and he's got no charisma.
Let's not speak ill of that, okay?
I actually think he was pretty decent in the original Police Academy movie. I agree with you. He has no range, but I think that movie, for his limited range, the first Police Academy movie, Steve Guttenberg actually is pretty charming, pretty likable. He does what he needs to do in that movie. The sequels all have the problem that sequels do, where it's kind of just becoming sillier and sillier and whatever. But I generally agree with you. Again, I don't get how Guttenberg got to be as big as he was.
He wasn't even good enough for something like fucking Full House, man. But he was too big to be on Full House. But I mean, that's where I see his level of talent. He could have been on something like Full House.
Well, he was.
I actually believe he was just on an episode of Fuller House, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
I have to look.
Man, how'd they get him? Man.
I know, he's still so A-list.
I'm pretty sure he was also like the killer on an episode of like Law and Order Criminal Intent one time. And it's like everyone else is like acting like it's a serious police show, and he's just still being Steve Guttenberg. Like it just nothing matched up
because
about
that's all he can do.
Yeah.
That's all he can fucking do.
Yeah.
I don't hate him. I don't have any ill will towards him. I'm just saying it's ridiculous.
I don't care enough to hate him.
He's just this completely bland, stupid guy that shows up and stuff as the same bland, stupid guy over and over again until people got tired of him and he faded into obscurity.
I can tell you 5 movies he's done.
Somebody tell me what's appealing about him then. If you're going to seriously defend him, tell me what he had.
I think
that sweet perm, man.
I think
He had the it factor. Okay,
You know,
he had the it factor.
you know what he was? He was a low budget Bill Murray, I think is the best way to describe him. He would kind of play
He
that.
is the rich man's Bill Murray. Okay, Bill Murray is poor man Steve Gutenberg. Okay,
He was that character that like Bill Murray always played, who like didn't seem to care, and he was always cracking jokes, but he always sort of rallied the losers, like that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But
And
again, he
we've
didn't do
seen
it as
plenty
well as
of
Bill Murray.
untalented people fail doing it. Like Vince Vaughn tried to do that too. That was Vince Vaughn in the mid 2000s. Oh, I don't
Yeah.
care, and I'm smirking,
Yeah,
and
but
I'm smarter than
Gutenberg is
everybody.
better
Like,
than this phone.
I'm not saying he's not, but that's a pretty low, that's a pretty fucking low bar. That's all I'm saying. Like, yeah, it's true though. Like, if you watch like the 2004 Vince Vaughn movie like Dodgeball, like, yeah, that seems exactly like the kind of shit. Like, if it was made in the 80s, that would have been Gutenberg.
listen,
I
Bill
think
Murray.
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray.
I thought Gutenberg
wishes
had
he
a
was
bit
Steve
more of a
Gutenberg.
likable.
Which is that?
He didn't seem mean. Gutenberg seemed more likable than Vince Vaughn.
All right.
Like, Vince Vaughn has
I
this,
think that's
like,
actually true.
anger.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
like 3 Men and the Baby, Short Circuit,
Mhm.
There
Kids
you go.
Academy. He had like this
I hate those
sweet. He's a smart ass, but he's sort of a sweet smart ass. He's not a.
I guess.
It's like
like
a
the mean
nice,
guy.
affable guy next door type dude. I mean,
I haven't seen the bedroom window. I do one day.
I know
funny.
he looked like every
Guy next door.
every sitcom dad from the 80s. That's what he looked like.
All right, Steve
Hollywood is
Gutenberg,
always after the girl next door. I think it's funny that Mike describes him as the guy next door. I don't
Yeah,
know
you
if
know,
I've ever
it's the
heard an
dude that
actor
lives next
described
door
that
to
way.
you. Well, I didn't mean it romantically. I didn't put
No,
a
I-
sexual
I'm
subtext
sorry.
to it. It's
Boy
like,
next door.
No, no.
like the guy
I didn't
next
mean to
door that
imply
lives
that.
next door to your neighbor. You know, the nice guy that's cutting his lawn. You
Right.
go, hey, how you doing? You know.
It's the boot.
But he's actually a sex criminal. He was on Law. He was on Law and Order, so he was a sex
So-
criminal.
To save us from the Gutenberg debate, that was my list. Like I was just trying to pull out all
No
the ones
debate.
that I didn't think had been mentioned.
Goot.
But
You guys
Next
want to do
week-
a retrospective next week?
Next week, a tribute to Steve Gutenberg on the
Very
Oh,
side.
I can't wait.
I'm on-
Tribute.
I'll do it.
That's
Do it.
Right.
Good Lord.
Three
tribute to
men
the
and a little
Goots.
lady. Here we come.
And I will not rewatch those movies, man. Any of those.
Team
You won't
Goot.
rewatch 3 Men and a Baby?
I hate it, man. It's terrible.
Oh,
Cocoon the Return. Come on, where you
It's
at?
cinema
you have
at its
no
like
soul.
lowest level.
you have no soul.
Like the only thing that like 3 Men and a Baby is better than is shit like The Real Cancun or something. Like that's the only thing I can put it above. Otherwise, it would be the bottom.
Well, hold on a second. 3 men and a baby. Isn't that significant? Like, is that Leonard Nimoy's first
Yes.
director effort?
Yes, that was
Yeah.
Leonard
I don't
Nimoy.
care who
film, yeah.
directed it. I don't care how it did at the box
Okay.
office. It was garbage.
No, he did the
Oh,
he did the Star Trek 3 before.
It's one of those movies that's so bad it's like insulting that they think that this is going to entertain you. It's insulting.
Oh,
It's
it was
that
entertaining.
fucking
Rambo-
bad.
On the trivia point, though, Rambo is right. Star Trek 3 was his first director effort. That was, I think, his second.
I think he did Star Trek 4 in '86.
It's still better than Rogue One.
I concur.
Star Trek 3,
I concur, Mike. There you go.
awfully boring.
I'd rather watch 3 Men and a Baby than fucking Ninja One.
Nothing even happens in Search for Spock. It's called The Search for Spock, but they find him like 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, man. Tom Selleck and Ted Danson steal that movie. Fuck Steve Gutenberg.
Oh,
Totally.
no, you know who really steals that movie is that ghost kid in the background that once shot.
Oh,
That's who steals that movie.
yeah.
The ghost kid.
That's the only thing people remember it for. That's it.
Well,
I saw it in the theater.
I'll go on and do my picks. For comedy, my favorite comedy of 1988 is The Last Temptation of Christ.
Willem Dafoe is hilarious.
Hilarious performance. No. Drama, you guys mentioned pretty much everything that was on my drama list. I will throw out there 8 Men Out, the movie about the Black Sox scandal of the 20s.
1919.
1919. Okay.
World Series, yeah.
Well, didn't Field of Dreams come out in 88 too?
Field of Dreams is
Was that 88 or 80?
89. It's
I don't
89.
remember.
It's
89.
89.
Yeah,
But,
I would have thought that would have been on someone's list already if it had.
I hate
8 Men
Field of
Out.
Dreams.
That
We can
was
talk about that too, how much I hate Field of Dreams. It's one of the worst attempts at melodrama I've ever seen.
You just don't like baseball movies.
I like Sandlot.
But Eight Men Down is good. Very good movie about the like I said, the Black Sox scandal.
That one was shot in Indianapolis at the Indianapolis Indians ballpark. I had a chance to be an extra in that, but I had long hair at the time, and it wasn't fitting with the 1919 aesthetic, and I refused to get a haircut just to stand in the stands for 12 hours or whatever. So, but yeah, I remember when it was shot. It was a pretty good movie.
Yeah, cool. I didn't quite know where to classify this film. It's kind of a fantasy, but it's also very dramatic. So I'll just keep it under drama, and that's the movie Paper House. Very kind of obscure movie. It never got a DVD release or a Blu-ray release in the U.S. Really, really good movie. Directed by Bernard Rose, who did Candyman, Immortal Beloved. Really good director. Really good movie. Not sure why it's never gotten a DVD or a Blu-ray release in the U.S. It's a shame. Really good movie. Let's see. As far as comedies are concerned, I had stuff like Naked Gun, Scrooge, Beetlejuice in there. One movie there's actually 3 movies on my list that nobody mentioned, so I'll just go ahead and throw them out there. All 3 of them. Big. Well, I think we mentioned Big, but I don't think it was on anybody's list. So Big, Twins.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's 88.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the Coreys earlier. License to Drive.
I almost put that on my list.
Yeah. License to Drive was one I used to rent constantly. I loved that movie. Twins is just, Twins. And Big was one of those movies that was constantly on USA all the time. Watched it all the time. Really loved that movie.
So was 3 Men and a Baby, by the way.
Yeah.
That was another USA movie.
That's very true. Very true. Very, very true. But License to Drive, man, we used to rent that all the time. All the freaking time. As far as action, I kind of had to dig a little deep here since we talked about Bloodsport with Van Damme. We talked about the Steven Seagal movie. So I dug a little deeper, and I came up with Hero and the Terror. With the great.
I love that movie. Damn, how did I miss that? That would have gone on my list. Good pick, Piz.
Hero and the Terror with the great Chuck Norris. You could kind of put that in horror too. I mean, it just kind of covers all the bases. Canon, just got Canon written all over it.
Yeah.
That movie is great because it's kind of like Chuck Norris is a badass, and there's all the jokes about nothing can stop Chuck Norris. I like that the villain in that movie is like a legitimate challenge for him. Like by the end of that movie, like Chuck Norris is like beaten and bloodied, just like the bad guy. It's like a tough fight. But great movie, good call out.
Yeah, in an old school movie theater, like it was Phantom of the Opera and stuff.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, just a fun Chuck Norris movie, Canon movie from the '80s. Good times.
Choice.
Well, this one's kind of an action comedy. It's actually a comedy making fun of action movies. I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker.
I wanted to bring it up. Yeah,
it's a good one.
The part where the guy's like Bunyan blows up and his toe is like that big, and then Keenan Ivory Wayans has like a little splinter, and he's like, it's like that big, that like Die Hard moment where he's pulling the glass out of his feet, but it's like a little splinter, and he's like,
That's before the Wayans were global.
Yeah. Exactly.
Chris Rock,
Chris Rock had.
How much for just one rib?
Just one rib.
Just for 100?
Yeah.
How much is a soda?
Get the fuck out of here.
All right, pour it in my hand for a nickel.
So many great moments. So many great one-liners.
The hooker with the fake leg. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, such a good movie. Such a good movie. Oh my god. Of course, the bad guy's a white guy, which I think wasn't his name Mr. White, I think, or something like that.
Probably.
It's so funny. Such a funny movie. Love that movie. As far as horror, Slugs.
I knew that was good.
Slugs. Just slugs. I love that movie. Any movie about
Oh, I missed it.
killer, killer carnivorous man-eating slugs. I'm gonna love it. And the fact that it was directed by Juan Piquer Simon, who did Pieces, just makes it even better in my book. Love that freaking movie.
Very gory movie.
Yes, very gory movie. Yes. Oh my God, where the guy eats the salad that's got the slug cut up in it,
and just eyeballs like pop out.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Awesome.
When he's having dinner with his date, it's just all these maggots and fucking pop out his face.
Great stuff. Man.
They Nest is from '88 also.
That's true.
About the roaches.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I love that one too.
Oh yeah.
Fright Night 2. I like Fright Night 2 a lot. Another one.
Still haven't seen it.
Got that very brief DVD release and then went out of print, and it's like a just sought after movie still.
And I think that's the problem with that movie is I saw it, but I don't really remember much about it because I wasn't really able to rewatch it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Thanks a lot, Menendez brothers.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Fuckers.
Every now and again, it does pop up on like a movie channel in HD. It got the HD treatment, but it's only been playing on like movie channels. You can get a Blu-ray. I forget what country it comes out of. I'm not sure what the quality is on it though, but you do have to import it.
There's a decent cut on YouTube. That's where I watched it.
Okay.
A few months ago.
Yeah, that's what I keep meaning to watch that. I've never seen it.
I picked up a pretty darn good bootleg DVD of it at a convention. I think it was scanned from like the Laserdisc. It got a Laserdisc, but nothing,
Does Cameron have that?
Probably.
Who knows? I did want to throw out two other movies. Again, movies that I think are kind of difficult to put in just one genre. Jack's Back, which is a movie I've championed for years. It finally came out on Blu-ray from Scream Factory. Yeah, just love that freaking movie. I mean, it's an action movie. Yeah. It's a horror movie. It's a serial killer movie. It's just all over the place. Such great performances in that. Just a great mood and atmosphere. Just love that freaking movie to death. And it got a pretty nice Blu-ray from Scream Factory. And a movie that I watched just recently that, again, action, horror, just all over the place is Dick Moss's Amsterdammed.
Yep.
Really good movie, man. One that totally flown under my radar until recently.
What is that movie? Explain that movie. I don't know.
It's a foreign film where you have a killer amongst the canals of Amsterdam. And it's like a cop movie. There's also a slash movie. And you have like this boat chase that would work well in a James Bond movie. That's how well it's done. And just a very effective like cop slasher among the canals of Amsterdam. The guy will sneak around in he'll get like a scuba suit to sneak in and kill people, or he'll dangle people off of bridges and land on the ferries that are passing by and so forth.
Really good movie too. Really good movie.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, you should look into it. Definitely look into it.
Amsterdammed?
Amsterdammed. Yes.
Like as if it's a verb. That's very clever.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else on my? Well, I know Rambo. You brought up Friday 7. I mean, that one's close to my heart because that was the very first one I saw on video.
Great poster.
Colors. Great poster. Colors that Dennis Hopper.
I think that's like Jason's most iconic look. Like that's how I picture Jason. Is how he looks in that movie.
I think that look in part 3 are like the two. When you think of Jason, you think of those either of those two.
Yeah,
those are the most.
I guess I kind of think zombie Jason more because he's zombie Jason, and he's dripping wet, and it's Kane Hodder. So that's kind of why.
Yeah,
I was gonna say when I think of Kane Hodder, I think of part 7.
Yeah,
sure,
that's true.
Because that's the only good one.
I'm a Brooker guy, so
yeah, that makes sense. Colors. We actually mentioned Colors. I think the last time we had a show, when we did the Chainsaw 2 commentary.
Oh, Dennis Hopper. Yeah.
Dennis Hopper directed it. Yeah. But that's a really good, I mean, you could categorize that in a couple of different categories, I think, too, about the gang, the gang culture in Los Angeles. Really good movie. Sean Penn and, shoot.
Robert Duvall?
Robert Duvall, yes.
Robert Duvall, yeah.
Great performances from those two. I think that was pretty much, we've covered everything else. I did throw Willow on my list. I do love me some Willow. Yeah, that's pretty much we covered. And Mac and Me. I mean, come on.
Fuck.
Mac and Me.
McDonald's the movie.
Remember when he pushes that kid down the hill? That's pretty awesome. On his wheelchair.
Paul Rudd's favorite scene.
I think B Movie Mac mentioned Rain Man. Rain Man was a big movie for me growing up. Having a brother with autism, and my brother was actually born in '88. There wasn't what we know of autism today. We knew 0.1% of back then. But so like everybody was like, oh, just go watch Rain Man. Go watch Rain Man.
That explains everything.
Yeah.
Exactly. That explains everything. Just watch Rain Man.
Well, he's an idiot savant, right? I mean, that's not like a very normal thing.
Right. Yeah. There are autistic people who are like that. And like he has certain traits that I see in my brother, that I see in a lot of people with autism, as far as being kind of very schedule oriented and very sort of OCD about, certain, what they wear and what they eat and what time they do things, stuff like that. But,
Well, let me ask you, is that, knowing what you know now, is that a good portrayal or no?
Well, I think he did a good job. The guy who the movie was based on, he did a very good job portraying him.
Oh, okay.
But what autism is so broad. They call it the spectrum, because it's such a broad diagnosis now. You have people who are like Rain Man, who they call them savants. You know what I mean? They're very good at they have an insane memory where they can remember. If you tell them, your birthday, they'll tell you what day of the week you were born, like that. Or like, for facts, like my brother, you can say, what year did this movie come? Like 1988. If you just said, Jeremy, what year did Jack's Back come out? He'd know 1988. He'd tell you like
I have that. I have the mind. I can date all the movies as long as I know it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's such a broad spectrum of it that you have on the far end you have the savants, and then on the other end you have people who are very lower functioning. You know what I mean? So just a broad spectrum. But back in the day, that even like specialists would say, just go watch Rain Man. You'll understand everything once you watch Rain Man. You know what I mean? It's like, well,
and Dustin Hoffman, man.
Yeah, it's like, it's a good movie, but it's like, you're not going to just drop some, it's like, let's throw some toothpicks on the floor and see if we can instantly count them.
Let's go to Vegas.
Exactly. Yeah, let's go to Vegas.
It's one of the first movies that really that I saw that had a character like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
kind
of like an introduction. And it became pop culture. I mean, it was referenced in films and TV shows years after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. I mean, I saw that stuff way before I ever actually saw the movie. I saw like parodies and stuff and references.
Mm-hmm. Were there any movies on any of you guys' lists that we didn't go over tonight?
Well, this wasn't on my list, but it occurred to me when you mentioned like a foreign movie. One of my favorite foreign movies from them is 1988's The Vanishing, which is a very low-key, slow movie that's mostly just a series of conversations, but it's just has a really good sort of foreboding atmosphere and edge. And as people always say, it's about the banality of evil, how like in real life, like evil's not usually like as crazy and comic booky as we make it and stuff, and how it's just sort of that. And I like it a lot.
I think the remake's better, though. The remake.
I know, because the remake changes the ending completely, and the remake's garbage. But The Vanishing, which is, I believe, is what is it? Is it a Dutch? No, it's a French-Dutch movie or something like that.
Spirilos or something like that. It's the original title.
Yeah. Whatever
anyway.
it is, it's
same director, right? Did both.
Yeah. It's a very slow movie doesn't have much going on in it, but the subject matter is just really fascinating and it's really well acted and stuff. So I really like that movie.
I totally left Pin off the list. If you guys haven't seen Pin, that's a really good movie. That's a really good movie.
I bet you haven't seen that, have you, Cole?
No, I haven't.
That's
Really good
Canadian horror, man. You got to get there.
Yeah, very good
I
movie.
left off Funny Farm.
I've seen a lot of Canadian horror, just not that.
Oh, Chevy Chase, funny for it.
I love Funny
Yeah,
Farm.
at the Funny Farm was good.
It was on my list.
A Caddyshack 2, however, not as good. Stinkers. There you go.
That's just yeah.
Jonathan Silverman not doing it for you?
The whole movie is fun.
Oh,
But
the comedian that they had to replace Dangerfield just didn't work.
or fucking
Jackie Mason.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd. Jesus.
I mean, you can't replace Dangerfield with anybody. Come on.
And Dan Aykroyd in that movie is abominable.
Well, Mason, the way he talks, just didn't do anything for me.
Oh, Dan Aykroyd, man, I forgot he was in that.
Yeah, and he
Yes,
did not
is.
do a good job as the Bill Murray character either. It was just like, why was this? Who thought this was a good? Did you watch the first one? Holy shit!
And he's like talking like this, and he's just this high pitched, punch through the face type of performance that you just want to rip the throat out, tell him to shut up.
If you could just find some clips of that, like that's worth watching because it's so terrible.
And Chevy
Can't
Chase
forget
sort
about
of just shows up for like a random 5 minutes of screen time, and then
And you can tell he doesn't care. You can tell he knows
He's
what
here for
kind
the
of movie
paycheck.
it is.
It's here for the paycheck.
Yeah, a few I wanted to mention was Hellbound, Hellraiser 2.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, that's
Mhm.
another one I was thinking about.
And I forget if there's an 88, but Prison, Rennie Harlan.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Really enjoy that one. And I saw this as a kid, so I like Ernest Safe Christmas.
Yeah,
Shot right here in Florida.
I actually
Yep.
I watched that last Christmas, I remember. Yeah. For the first time in many years. Yeah. let's see what Sausage Factory Nation's saying. Jason Hamilton says no one mentioned Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. I thought about putting it on my list, but there were so many horror movies I
I haven't
left it
seen it.
I think Linnea Quigley is the hottest she's ever been in that movie.
on. That may be true.
Yeah, I get that one and the what was it, the Beach Babes and the Slime Ball Bolorama. They all
That
kind
was
of blend
88.
together.
That was 88 too, I think.
Sorority Babes in those.
Sorority
It's
Babes.
something like that. It's
Something I don't
all
know.
those things just kind of blur
I've
together.
never seen them. Is Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers good?
Yeah, it's fun.
That's a
Yeah.
good title.
Fun movie.
Gunnar Hansen's in it.
Yeah, Gunnar Hansen. Yep. Fun movie.
I'm not going to say it's good, though. It's
Okay.
Let's see. Let's go up here. Stone Gasman says my favorite movies of 1988 are Willow, A Fish Called Wanda, Bright Lights, Big City, Midnight Run. I don't think anybody mentioned Midnight Run. Good movie.
That was a good one.
Naked Gun, Die Hard, Child's Play, and The Chocolate War, based on the third most banned novel of all time. I've never heard of The Chocolate War. Anybody familiar with The Chocolate War?
I haven't
First time
seen
I've heard
it,
of
but
it.
I know what it is. I
I
haven't
read
seen
the
it.
book once upon a time.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie though.
I think Gene Siskel was masturbating to it on his show. That's about all.
And DJ, it's spelled P-I-N. Pin. Look it up. It's very good. Very good. Let's see what else we got going on here. Jason Lima says, hey guys.
Confusing people.
Jason Lima says, hey guys, hope you all are doing well. Thank you. Jason Hamilton says, my girlfriend's 3-year-old son has autism, and I found out autistic people are some of the most kind and loving people in the world. Jason Hamilton also says, what about Great Value E.T.? Oops, I mean Mac and Me.
Great value.
That pretty much sums it up. Yeah.
You mean the extended McDonald's commercial?
An executive at McDonald's saw E.T. and thought, hey, we can make a movie.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened.
Well, I mean, Ronald McDonald was the fucking trailers. You watch the trailers, Ronald McDonald say, hey, watch our movie where we dance in a literally a dancing in a McDonald's.
They look
I've
like-
never been to a McDonald's that people just start dancing. It's more like people like scream or yell or they have shit all over their face or
It
something.
was probably an experiment because I got tired of paying the franchise fees for all the different tie-ins that they had with them. Let's make our own movies and sell our own toys.
All of the aliens look like blowjob dolls. They're all just they're like they do. Check them out.
Creepy.
Did we miss batteries not included, or is that not 88? Or let me see.
I think it's 89.
It's 89, I think.
Okay.
Movie Man
Like
95. Movie Man 95 says taking a Taco Bell dump is better than Rogue One. So Mike,
Oh.
he's on the same page with you there.
Agreed.
Going for the border.
Only Orc were here to tell us about it.
Yeah, I was totally against you guys until I actually watched Rogue One. It's like, come on, it can't be that bad, guys. You guys are not being fair. Like, no.
I'm
don't
going to re-legislate this. I just don't see it. I don't see like the hate that it earns from you. I really don't.
I don't either.
I watched it.
I
and
think
was
it's
like,
mediocre, but I don't think it's bad in any sense.
I gave it a
Shits on
second
the
chance.
first movie. I give it a second chance too, and I still hated it.
Yeah, me too.
It's a boring piece of shit. And the actress can't have a fucking.
It's like Mike and Rambo. They're not giving it a fair shake. I'm gonna have to watch this.
I'm never fair, so fine.
My
But
biggest
no, I
problem-
totally agree with you. That's what I'm saying. Like, I was like, oh god.
The story is horrible. I mean, they take a crawl and they try to turn it into a film, and they add a bunch of shit that doesn't belong, and it just shits all over the first movie. Oh, Luke doesn't need the Force to blow up the Death Star. I wish he would have known that in the first movie.
No, that's not accurate, though.
That's not accurate.
He
They
needs
found-
the
they
Force
found
to make the shot.
They found a weakness. It wasn't created for them to find. That whole part is bullshit. You turned off your targeting computer. What are you doing? Nobody else can make this shot. Use the Force, Luke. Oh, I didn't need to use the Force because Jen Urso's dad built in a fucking... Well, fuck that shit.
But come on, didn't
That's
the,
not a
that's the
logical
point.
connection.
didn't the CGI
Yeah.
Saying
Carrie
doesn't-
Fisher make it up?
That doesn't follow. That's not saying that. I don't see how you can make that connection.
Well, if the flaw was purposefully built into the Death Star, then Luke wouldn't have needed the Force, and
Why?
somebody else could have made the
No.
shot.
Luke needed the Force to make the shot because it was a narrow shot. The fact that the torpedo would just blow up the station after you made the shot, that's the piece that comes from Rogue One.
And the fact that an exhaust port's an Audi, not an innie, that's just beyond it, right? Whatever.
Well, that's the whole point. He kind of
Yeah.
built a flaw. I don't know. I mean,
Like
that's
I said,
That's
this is all
exactly
piggybacking on the flaw from the original movie. I mean,
yeah. Because I think fans
So
have been picking
they
on
were
that.
So you
dealing,
can make a movie
they were
based on a
dealing with
flaw.
problem. Yeah, that's what I mean. They were dealing with a problem in the first place. It was always iffy in the first movie. It's like
I
well,
have a
that's
better
kinda
idea. Don't make
weird.
that movie.
I felt pandered to in Force Awakens. I really, really felt pandered to in that film, and I didn't like
See
it.
that
I felt that Rogue
I
One was
understand
made
that.
for people that aren't
I
Star
understand
Wars
that.
fans.
I just don't like any of the characters, especially the lead. I
Yeah.
thought she was
The
blank
robot was the
face.
best damn
I'll
character.
admit that the characters are based. You know, I'm not
Yeah.
trying to find the movie.
Very
Like the
flat.
most interesting,
The characters are mostly forgettable.
the most interesting character was the what's his name? Flashpoint.
The
Oh, Johnny Yen.
Yeah, and
the
it's
Asian
like,
guy, yeah.
make him the lead, but they
Yeah.
give him nothing to
He was
do.
Make him a
but-
Jedi.
or even
No,
if
see,
not,
I disagree there. I
Yeah.
think it's interesting that they're showing what it's like in a world without Jedi. For somebody that, yes, he would have been a Jedi if the Jedi hadn't been worked out. There's nobody to train him, but he was a Force-sensitive individual who could sort of tap into it without training. That's the point.
I'm
That's
fine
what
with that.
what I
He
like
should have
about
been the lead, though.
Or maybe even that he wouldn't have been a Jedi, but just seeing a different side of how other people other than Sith and Jedi view the Force.
Because that's the
Well,
other
how
thing,
about-
yeah, Americans I talked about it. It's not just one and one. There's other sides to the Force than besides Jedi and Sith. There's
That'd be a
also
more interesting story, yeah.
In Star Wars, they were
It would've been
they were
more
all about destroying the
story.
Death Star, but in this movie, she goes and gets the plans, and then nobody wants to fight, and it's like, I don't know. There was just, Rogue One was just terrible, horrible.
Yeah, I'm not going
I'd
to
rather wipe my ass with poison ivy than watch that movie again.
Let's
1988.
Okay.
let's go back. Let's go back to the audience. Jason Lima, yes, I did. I mentioned License to Drive. Chris, I mentioned Rain Man. I don't think anybody mentioned Hell Comes to Frogtown.
I don't
I was
know.
going to get there.
There was a Deadpool mention. There was a Killer Clowns from Outer Space mention.
I don't like that movie at all.
Stone Gassman wants to know: do you all think Cocktail deserved the Razzie for Worst Picture of 1988?
Yes.
No, I mean, Back to Me is way worse.
No, there's all sorts of movies that have been mentioned tonight that are worse than that.
Caddyshack 2 is way worse.
Yeah.
Cocktail's not good, but I'd rather watch that.
I don't really get why Cocktail was a movie. Like, I still don't really understand how that merits being a movie. Like, why is that a script? Why is that a story? Like, I don't. There's nothing there. But
The whole thing of people doing that shit with drinks is kind of stupid to me. But
yeah, but I guess again, we haven't talked too much about the time. Well, that was 1988. That was the time. I guess that was the thing that would have been popular at the time.
Well, because there had to be a prequel to Coyote Ugly.
Coyote Ugly's just a big tease.
Jason, the other guy in Cocktail, was it Brian Brown?
Yep, from FX.
Much better actor. Yeah.
So
Jason, I mentioned I'm going to get you, sucker too.
Yep.
The reason for Cocktail would be Kelly Lynch in a thong. Let me just say that. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's what they pitched. Maybe that was the pitch. And they're like, okay, make some sort of movie around it. Okay.
Has anybody seen the New Adventures of Pippi Longstocking?
Oh yeah, I saw it.
Okay.
Never heard of it.
Years ago, yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. I don't remember it. I only saw it as a kid. But
No.
it was well cast. She looked like her.
Apparently, according to Jason Hamilton, she looks pretty good today. So
It's a good thing you put the today in there. I was gonna be like, what?
Let's verify that.
I thought he was just saying he was just like attracted to Pippi Longstocking. I'm like, that's kind of iffy.
Freckles, man, they do it.
the freckles. Stingray, were there any movies on your list we didn't go over?
I had some more horror films.
Go for it.
Curse 2: The Bite.
Okay.
You guys seen that one?
Long time. Isn't Jill Sholin in that?
Possibly. I'm not sure.
She is. I think she is. I think I read that just for her years ago.
The whole premise is the guy gets bit by a snake, right? And then his arm turns into a snake. It's pretty awesome.
Crap, I
thought you were going to go with the Howling
I
Four.
have heard of that. I just didn't know the title. I've actually heard of such a movie.
So
somebody
when you look up the actress who played Pippi Longstocking in that movie, she only has 5 credits to her name, but one of the credits under her thing is Tammy Aaron, the sex tape. So clearly her career went to a good place very quickly.
The Dana Plato wrote.
Okay.
Two more I'll quickly mention is The Serpent and the Rainbow and Shakedown. Shakedown with Peter Weller and
yes. Oh man, I love Shakedown so much.
Sam Elliott.
Oh, cool. So good.
Never get into Serpent and the Rainbow. It bores the shit out of me. But
I feel like Shakedown is not a complete movie. I feel like it's too much of all that court scene stuff, but the actual action side of it is great. It gets bogged down by some of those court. I mean, who wants to watch court scenes anyway? Come on.
You watch The Accused.
I like that.
I like courtroom dramas when they're good.
Yeah.
I've been pushing for a show about them.
Oh man.
Yeah, Time to Kill is good, but Shakedown is not the kind of movie to try to force that in.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. I'm just saying, I like a lot of courtroom dramas.
This was pretty awesome.
And then there was one called Shoot to Kill with Tom Berenger and Sidney Poitier. It's a pretty good action film.
The horror reel mentions Lady in White.
Oh.
Don't know it.
I didn't know that was 88 either.
Mm-hmm. That's one I've tried to watch a couple of different times to kind of get behind because I know it's got a big following, but I just can't.
I can't get into it either.
Can't get into it.
Yeah, I know CK was a big fan of that one, and I've tried to watch it a few times.
Yeah.
What? No mention of Hot to Trot? But I would Return of the Living Dead 2, and of course, Tracy Lords was in a movie that year, so I would be remiss if I didn't mention it. Not of this earth.
I was gonna mention that.
Talented actress.
Yeah.
It's,
Very talented.
Roger
Talented
Corman
performer.
film, right?
We'll say talented performer might be more accurate.
She was pretty solid in Zack and Miri Make a Porno.
Absolutely.
Stone, yes, we did mention Clean and Sober with Michael Keaton. I think we've covered just about all the 1988 bases, to be honest.
John Hughes had a movie. She's having a baby.
You do have purple people. You're Neil Patrick Harris.
Wow.
Now we're
Ned-
digging.
Ned
We're
Beatty.
under the bottom of the barrel.
We're,
now.
we're digging deep now. We're digging too
No.
deep now. Okay,
We
we're
were
digging too
digging
deep.
deep for a while.
What about
Anyway.
Mystic Pizza?
Working Girl was a pretty big hit.
I like
Harrison
Working
Ford
Girl.
and Melanie
I
Griffith.
like that movie. I didn't think it was worth mentioning, really, but it's a good enough movie.
Side note.
It's funny though too. It's another one of those. We talk about sexual harassment in the workplace. It's like one of those ones where like Harrison Ford is like definitely like you would view his character differently, I guess, by today's standards.
Yeah.
Like at one point, like he mentions like how he should be commended because like he did. Like at one point, she like falls asleep with him, and he's like, "I didn't even do anything, aren't I an amazing hero?" Or like it's pretty funny.
Well, why don't we, since Orc is not here to give us an Orc's Corner or an Orc's Dank Meme of the Week, we've got to work extra hard to cover Orc's kind of, contributions to the show because they are limitless. I don't know what you think's funny about that, Eric.
Well, Eric's got a new segment. Is that what it is?
Whoa.
Oh, come on.
Let's see.
Did he just volunteer?
Eric had his hand up. I saw him.
Well, while I'm thinking of something to put him on the spot, why don't we get some wise words from the
I knew that was
professor?
coming. I tried to deflect it.
Damn, what kind of wise words?
This close.
What kind of wise words can
Wise
you
words.
impart
Think
upon
faster
us?
on your feet. You won't be put on the spot like this.
Something about consent forms, maybe.
Waver sign, fellas.
It's common sense. If you keep your hands to yourself now, 20 years from now, you won't have any problems.
Wiser words were never spoken.
Yeah,
Take it to heart, people. Take it to heart.
I don't think Sylvester Stallone can rape anyone because women they throw themselves at him. So it's just not possible.
Hey, stop that locker room talk.
This is
Ooh,
fake
controversial.
news, guys. Fake news.
Hey,
Women
this
do
is
not
toxic
allow-
masculinity, and I'm not going to stand for it.
Well, let's continue this. Let's take a peek into the Stingray spotlight. What do you got for us this week, Stingray?
Today we'll talk about a film from 1989. It's called She's Out of Control. It stars Tony Danza. It's pretty awesome. It's
about like he's afraid of his daughter. That's a weird movie.
Yes,
he's afraid of his
it's-
daughter's budding sexuality. Is basically what it's about.
It's a good one.
Like
It's
his
a good one.
teenage daughter's becoming all sexy, and Tony Danza's like, "Oh shit, what do I do?"
It has one of the early roles of Dana Ashbrook. He has a really dangly earring, which I think is cool. I'm I'm
Time for that to come
doing a series on dangly earrings coming up soon in the late 80s, early 90s. It was like a 4-year period where they were all over the place. And
Was it
come
superior
back.
to My Father the Hero? I think that was a Gerard Depardieu, or how you pronounce his friggin' name.
That's
yes,
right.
it is.
Okay.
No, I haven't seen it, but it's got Gerard in it, so it has to be.
Oh yeah.
But no, this is another one that was on Siskel and Ebert's like shit list, and I'm like, I don't get it, guys. I don't get it.
I'm trying to think of a good segment name for Eazy-E. I can't come up with anything. I'm drawing a blank here. I was thinking like Eazy-E's Menagerie,
Sleazy.
Sleazy-E's Menagerie.
Sleazy.
I don't know.
What, you want to talk about old school Cinemax? Is that the segment?
Ooh.
What's your favorite episode of Red Shoe Diaries?
I liked Double Dare.
He remembers it by name. My goodness. Wow. That must have been a good episode. You remember it by name.
Absolutely.
I was merely going to call out to the works of Miss Shannon Tweed.
Ah, you mean Miss Gene Simmons?
Oh yeah,
That's right. Well, actually, aren't they getting divorced? I'm not sure.
I don't think they were. I don't think they were ever married. Were they? Were they ever officially?
Yeah, they
married?
got married on the TV
Yeah, they
show
got
about
married.
2010. Like that.
Who would have thought that one wouldn't last, guys? Right?
Her
Yeah.
best appearance
Yeah.
was Hot Dog the movie, though.
Ooh, that's true.
She
Going
was
old school on that one.
she was very easy on the eyes back in the day. Very easy on the eyes. I think we've said it all about 1988.
Good. I managed to deflect successfully. All right.
Next time we will
We'll think of
premiere.
something for you.
Next time we will premiere the Easy E segment. I don't know what it'll be. Maybe it'll be sleazy.
It's yet to be named.
Is yet to be named. Maybe it'll be Sleazy E's Menagerie. We'll find something out. We'll pick something out.
Wait.
I'll have to put some thought into that. All right.
Easy E's exchanges of erotica.
What was mine called? I had one that was called. I don't remember what mine was called.
You had I don't remember what it was either, but yours was you like recommended
Comic and book recommendations, but I'm trying to think of the title. Oh well.
I thought it was something about hatred, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably that too.
See, we just fall apart at this point in the show without Orc here to really anchor it
No.
with his segments.
Come on,
Yeah.
Mark.
No one's down in a Mountain Dew and shouting.
All right, guys, you're at a Subway.
Yeah.
What toppings on your sandwich?
You know he's been holding on to that one for a special
Pay for the
show.
double meat. Yes, every time. You have to spring for the double meat. Worth it,
No,
guys.
it would
Subway
be-
has like the worst chicken I've ever had. Man, their chicken is terrible. I don't know where they get it from.
It would be what toppings would you put on your Subway sub, and what
What is your favorite sub, and what are your favorite toppings?
exactly what bread? He'd break it down. What bread do you want? What condiments?
That's the thing. He always wants details. Whenever I talk to work, if I'm eating something, I can't even just tell him what I'm eating. He wants the full fucking details. It's a little disturbing. Like,
I got a
like
message
I'm
from
not
him.
coming back from a date, work. I'm eating a piece of pizza.
I got
He wants
a
the
message
deep.
from him once that was like, "What are your top 5 streaming platforms and why?" It's just like 5. I don't know. Let me think about that.
I like the one that I use, and then the other 4 I've heard of.
But see,
Yeah.
Orc is the kind of person. He's the kind of deep thinker that sits around and thinks of these things and wants to ask people. I mean, maybe I mean, he just has these thoughts.
He just wants to know if you want your sub toasted and what director would you eat it with.
Exactly. Well, I would have a pizza sub with Sir Richard Attenborough at Subway in the nearby Walmart. That's it. Oh
Oh,
Jesus!
you wouldn't
I
go
think
for a
that's why
steak
I
and
kind of
cheese
hate
with
Walmart
Gutenberg?
now.
Yeah.
Let's have a ham and cheese with Nicolas Cage.
Oh, that'd be a good
Most
one.
Walmarts smell like Subway now, which kind of contributes to my dislike of them.
Dislike of Subway. I get it.
Well, dislike of
Well, I think
Walmart.
Both.
I mean, all the Walmarts had McDonald's in Canada, which is much worse.
I've got one.
It's funny because like that used to be around here. Sorry, in the U.S., the place where I've lived, it was always a McDonald's. But lately, all I ever see are Subways, and Subway just has such a distinctive smell that just grosses me out now. Can't.
Oh my God! Jason Hamilton says he'll have a tuna sub with Wes Craven. Oh goodness gracious!
I think Wes Craven would like to have a tuna sub.
Yeah.
I'll have an Italian with Dario Argento.
Ooh, nice.
There you go.
I get it.
Oh God, Orc, we need you. You need to get well. Get well soon, Orc.
You can't fill
Truth.
your void.
I know that void is just too big to fill. Too big to fill. Anyway, well, guys, let's go ahead. Let's wrap it up. Hopefully, we shared with you guys some really interesting movies from 1988 that you guys may have not have heard of that you can go out and check out.
You guys
And,
mentioned a bunch I haven't heard
Wait,
of. So
hold on. Piz, before you go, read Jason Hamilton's comment. That's pretty epic.
let's see which one. Oh,
I'll have a footlong with Felissa Rose.
Hey.
Which, for the uninitiated out there, that would be the star of Sleepaway Camp and its
Yes.
fantastic ending. So
Yes, that's
you,
true.
you get
very
bonus
nice.
points for that.
Yes, that is true. Good one. Very good one. Good job, Jason. Let me give a shout out to everybody who tuned in tonight. We got DJ, we got Jason, we got Stone. Let's see, we've got Jason Lima. Chris Wynn, our buddy Chris Wynn is here with us tonight as well. The Horror Reel, Movie Man 95. Saw a couple of what I thought were new names out in the chat tonight. Let me see if I can find them. Of course, Jack Craven was with us tonight. Brian Partington. Let's see. I thought I saw a couple of new names out there. Maybe the chat's refreshed and it's taking them away. Oh, no, here we go. TK, Mary Deeth. Thank you for joining us tonight, my friend. He says Scrooged is his favorite underrated Bill Murray movie and favorite underrated Christmas movie. Yeah. Good one. Definitely.
I totally agree. Awesome.
Also a big fan of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So he's got good taste. We had Betty White in the chat tonight. Betty White, we were graced by a celebrity in the chat tonight.
Wow. Keep it going, Betty.
Yeah, and she didn't realize her caps lock was on the entire time.
Well, she's like 95, so
she's old. She has to yell.
Give her credit.
That's true.
Josh
Josh O'Brien joined us tonight. Thank you, Josh. He agrees with me that he's burned out on comic book movies. So, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in tonight, guys. We appreciate it. My cats are fighting in the background. So that means it's time for me to go. But we will return next week live on the Sausage Factory YouTube channel with a brand new episode. So until then, you guys have a great week, and we'll see you. Oh, wait a minute! Next week's Thanksgiving. And you know what? I don't care. We're gonna be here.
We'll be here.
That would be dedication. That's intense.
And if you're not here, you're fired.
Wow.
And Eric, you are on your last legs, okay? If Orc hadn't gone under the blade, he was about to send out that pink slip. Make it official. Contract terminated, the whole 9 yards. So anyway, no, we're off next week. I forgot it's Thanksgiving. You guys have an awesome Thanksgiving. We will return, let me see, the 30th of November with a new episode. So we'll see you guys then. Take care, and later.
Night.
Later, guys.
Bye-bye.